Welcome back to Pit Stop TV, and for the first time on the channel, the virtual Pocono Raceway. We're here this afternoon for coverage of the IROL, the International Online Racing League, as they wrap up their 10th season of racing. They had 8 seasons on NASCAR Racing 2003, utilizing mods, and now, for the last 2 seasons, they have been on the iRacing.com simulator. And Nate, this 3-turn, 2.5-mile super speedway is comprised of 3 iconic corners from 3 iconic American speedways. Turn 1 is a blast from the past as we revisit the high banks of Trenton, then head down the Long Pond straightaway in a beeline for Turn 2. This near 90-degree left-hander takes its form from the famous Indianapolis Motor Speedway before you barrel down to the flat, Milwaukee Mile-inspired Turn 3. And Nate, this place has always been treacherous no matter what cars have raced it. And now we get to watch as these cats go toe-to-toe for 500 kilometers. It speeds in excess of 200, 210, 220 miles per hour. And it's, 500-kilometer race. It's not quite a 500-mile race, but it's still a grueling task. And these Indy cars are always fast and hard to handle. And we'll get to see these guys put these cars to the test tonight. Put the downforce to the test, put the tires to the test as they rip around this speedway. You can see it now on screen, and it's no easy feat getting around Pocono Raceway. So Nate, I don't even know, man. It's such a treacherous racetrack again, and these cars, they don't like to play nice. They definitely are not the easiest things to drive on the sim or in life at all. What do you expect being the biggest challenge for these drivers as they go through 125 laps here tonight?
Well, first of all, thank you for the intro and thank you for bringing me on tonight. I expect the biggest challenge tonight with this brand new IR18, with it being in its 2nd year of use in real life and in iRacing. The biggest challenge these drivers are going to face tonight is aero push, especially on the older tires.
Yeah, aero push always a concern in the Indy cars, of course. If you get in the wake of another driver and don't have grip, well, that is aero push. That's because you're losing front downforce, and it becomes harder and harder to handle your race vehicle. So you just lose front grip. And we're also going to see that turbulent air cause some other handling issues. It might get these cars loose, get them a little bit sideways, and lead to other problems. So these guys are still in practice. We're actually getting close to their drivers' meeting. I think we're bringing cars down the pit lane now. We can go ahead and take a look at our leaderboard so far. Through quite a bit of practice, actually. We had not too many cars on track, but quite a few of those cars that we had, at least, running quite a few laps. So you can see Michael Cozy Jr., the clear leader so far. He's got a bit of a lead over Scott List-Ramler. In terms of lap times, Will Roberts comes up 3rd, John Poole the 3rd in 4th, Spencer Preet 5th, and 6 more drivers have turned times. A couple have not turned times, those being Corey Rexford, Rockwell Seacrest. You can see them all on your screen there. Let's quickly go ahead and bring the ticker up and take a look at your weather for the evening. 80 degrees out here in the Pocono Mountains. Not too warm, not too cool. Should be I think a decent amount of grip out there on the track, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, for sure. I'm also looking at our current track temperature, which is at 116 degrees Fahrenheit. I think that'll produce some really hard racing between these guys as they struggle to fight for grip because the tires are going to be extremely, extremely hot.
Definitely. The tire temps is going to be a concern here tonight at Pocono, and I don't think the track temp is too outlandish, but when you get these guys going around here in excess of, again, 200, 210 miles an hour, that's really going to put a lot of stress on the tires, and tires are going to matter. I think every time they come down the pit lane, you can see the pit lane about center of your screen now. Every time they come in a pit, I think tires are going to have to be something you take. I don't think you can do any fuel only. Not that that's usually a strategy you would employ anyways, but I don't know if there's any track position to be gained in terms of taking no tires or even taking 2 possibly. I don't think that's really an option here tonight.
No, definitely not. I feel like every pit stop, no matter if you've just ran 1 lap, 15, 30, however many, you need to take 4 tires on every pit stop. You can't have these no fuel calls tonight, especially with this being the 2011 version of Pocono, and it is definitely a lot more bumpy surface and grinds up the tires more like Atlanta Motor Speedway, Darlington, and other tracks of that nature.
And that's something to mention as well. And I'm actually going to go back and look at some of these guys going around the track. Let's see if we can find someone who was on track. Looks like Eric Gonzalez here from a few minutes ago. And actually might want to go ahead and refresh my trading paints. But that's a good thing to mention, that we are on the old version of Pocono Raceway. And of course, this track was scanned quite a few years ago on iRacing, for iRacing. Before they repaved this joint, and now that they've repaved it, the track definitely takes on some some different characteristics. There we go. It's a lot smoother, doesn't wear the tires as much. Obviously, it's better asphalt, and of course, this older asphalt going to come into effect, I think, over the course of the evening. So now we're looking at Timothy Trowbridge. That is a name. I will say, actually, this is a good time for me to bring up our point standings coming into the event. This is the finale for the International Online Racing League. They come to Pocono for their final race in season number 10. Let's go ahead and look down your point standings. So Scott List-Ramler comes in as the points leader. John Poole, the only driver within range, was in contention of stealing that championship away. Scott List-Ramler has been the dominant face of the series thus far, and as we head into one more event here tonight, Nate, it's a tall task to go ahead and, not only beat Scott List-Ramler, but by enough to win. It's just not going to work out. Actually, my bad. I'll get the points on screen for you there. But yeah, no. You can go ahead and explain the point system, actually, for these guys. It is not going to be easy to overcome that point system.
No, it's really not, because IORL uses the classic kart point system. I actually need to refresh myself on what the point system is exactly, but
so I believe it's 2016-14 for the top 3, going down to 12 and 10 throughout the rest of the top 5, and I believe up to 12th is paid points. So I'll go ahead and refresh myself. As I will say, despite the lack of preparedness, I have done my research on the league and tried to familiarize myself. But as somebody who just has not watched IndyCar racing that much throughout my life, it's something that's hard for me to keep ingrained in my head. So I'll try and find that here shortly. But actually, we're getting cars on track for qualifying here, Nate, and this is going to be important, I'd say. It's seriously going to be important. You can't just come out here and expect to win from the back, I think, because every little thing in this race is going to matter down the road. Granted, it is quite a long race. Still, I think qualifying is going to be very, very important.
Yes, qualifying is going to be extremely important, especially as mentioned earlier, the aero push that you get when you're back in second, third, fourth, fifth, and so on. If clean air is the biggest thing that you can have in these Indy cars, especially on this 2.5 mile racetrack, clean air is huge for every driver out there, and they're all going to be fighting to get to the lead to get that clean air.
Yeah, and just like you would see in an Indianapolis 500 race, you really are going to have to get out front and control your destiny, I think. Get as close to the front as you can. If you can't control the actual lead, as actually we see a new fastest lap come up on your screen, Spencer Preet thus far takes the pole. We'll have that notification come up through the rest of the evening. Something new on the channel since the last time we broadcasted, which was, I think, over a year ago now. But getting back to the point, it's going to look like an Indianapolis 500 event. If you can get out front and control the air, you're definitely in the best position to, I think, win the race. Granted, again, every little thing is going to matter down the road, and that's a long road to go down. So, anyways, I think, moral of the story here, get out front, control the air, and control your own destiny. Don't get stuck around other cars. Don't get stuck in dirty air and be put in a box by both the air, the handling of the car, and the cars around you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I hate to be a broken record, but seriously, clean air is going to be the biggest thing tonight. And I can see these guys going absolutely haywire from the start to be able to get to that lead and to be able to control their pace, control their destiny, and have that clean air to basically control the entire race. Because the leader controls the race in these things, and essentially, I hate to say it, but IndyCar on ovals is kind of follow the leader when you get into a longer run and that aero push starts coming in and such. And yeah, basically, clean air is the biggest thing we're going to be seeing people fight for tonight.
Definitely, and something I'm noticing already in qualifying, actually, as we ride with Scott List-Ramler, he actually takes the pole time, so good thing you're riding with him there. Not a lot of these guys are getting around this racetrack, Nate. I've noticed quite a few drivers have hit the wall, so aero push is going to matter 100% already. Watching how on edge these guys are of actually making the corner of it's not even an on edge kind of loose, it's an on edge kind of tight. These guys are definitely tight going around this 2.5 mile super speedway. I think we've seen 3 or more cars hit the fence, and I think one of those might even been Spencer Preet, who set the pole at first. It's obviously looking like it's difficult to actually go out there and set a good time. I've seen multiple guys kill their qualifying runs as a whole just because they've gone and hit the wall.
Yes, and to back up that Spencer Preet statement, he actually did smack the wall and crash on his second lap of qualifying. So he will not be able to go out and make another attempt at this, and with about 30 seconds left, 11 cars have taken time, and Scott List-Ramler has the pole by a 10.5 right now.
And we just watched Eric Gonzalez in the number 98, I think, tap the wall out of turn 2 and then actually hit the wall and damage the right side of that race vehicle out of turn number 3 on his second lap. Currently second in qualifying, so has a pretty good time down. About a 10.5, though, behind Scott List-Ramler. So it depends on how you look at it. He's actually tied with Will Roberts. Well, I think just ahead of Will Roberts for that second position so far. So qualifying very close, just not up front.
Yeah, but Eric Gonzalez, even with tying with Will Roberts, and he actually will start second ahead of Will. I think the biggest thing for Eric and maybe a Will, a John, back from second down to fifth, I think they're going to try to get a jump on this start. That way they can try to beat Ramler into turn 1 and get out to the lead.
Well, only time will tell, Nate. And as we get ready to go green here tonight from the Pocono Raceway, let's go ahead and take a look down your grid. Obviously, starting row number 1 is going to be Scott List-Ramler and Eric Gonzalez. Your pole and outside pole here tonight. Moving on to row number 2, we have Will Roberts and John Poole. Then it's Spencer Preet, Zach Buchanan starting 5th and 6th. Starting 7th and 8th, we'll have Timothy Trowbridge and Matt Chubb. And starting 9th and 10th, to round out your top 10 is Rockwell Seacrest and Michael Cozy Jr. Bringing up the field in 11th, going to be Ray Dolly. Looks like Corey Rexford 12th. And finally, rounding out your field here tonight, Andrew McMurray in 13th. Not a very big field for the finale here tonight, Nate, but it should still be a good one.
Oh yes, I've ran with IRL multiple times, and they always tend to put on a show. Very close, hard racing, and a lot of clean racing goes on in here too. I was actually dominating at their Texas race until I unfortunately had an accident, but it was a non-stop battle with these drivers at Texas. And as they begin to roll off to take their one pace lap, I feel like we're going to be seeing the same kind of stuff tonight.
100%. And let's go ahead and revisit the point standings right quick, Nate, because we kind of went down that road and then totally diverted down something else. So let's quickly go back, look at the point standings, and I think I'll go ahead and actually update my session here because it's showing the standings all out of order. So don't mind the ticker at the top of the screen. Looks like it's going to take a second for it to fully update. Anyways, going down the list of point standings, again, Scott List-Ramler comes in as your points leader and the favorite to win the championship, I think, Nate, considering 15 points going to be hard to do with this point system. And I want to quickly go back to the point system. You do get 20 points for winning. But obviously, you also get a point for leading a lap. So really, a win is 21 points. You also get a point for leading the most lap and a point for pole position. So Scott List-Ramler already has one of those ticked off, will likely get the second, and he may even go on to lead the most laps. I'm looking at Watkins Glen results, actually, and, well, he did that there. So we'll see what goes on here tonight. But to put this into perspective, second place gets 16 points, third gets 14, then 12, 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And so only one car will leave here tonight not getting any points for their position. We'll see who that will be later on. But for now, as we get ready to get going green here tonight, Nate, we've watched this field go through a lap here at Pocono from the back of the pace car. Now we're getting ready to watch them go green here from the, the broadcast cameras.
All right, and here they come off at turn 3. The pace car is off, and the green flag is in the air at Pocono. And they actually go 3 wide on the start as fourth place John Poole tries to get a jump on second place Eric Gonzalez, and now they rush off into turn 1.
Scott List-Ramler already putting away a pretty big lead here out of turn number 1. Then it's going to be Eric Gonzalez coming up in second place. And you already see the field struggling to get to where they want to be for Eric Gonzalez going down to the inside, looking to the inside of Scott List-Ramler, makes the pass in turn number 2 on lap 1. Bit of a slide job. Now the crossover. Scott List-Ramler down to the inside and the caution
And
out
the caution
behind.
flag is out.
We'll go ahead and go back and see where that happened.
Sorry to butt in right there, but it just really caught my attention, and I'm honestly shocked to see a yellow flag on the first lap here.
100%, and it looks like it's going to be Ray Dolly. So we'll go ahead and go back and watch what happens here. It's tough to say, obviously, considering we didn't have a camera on it, but it looks like it's going to be a multi-car wreck regardless. And someone just pushed up out of turn 2. Exactly what we were kind of expecting to go on tonight, but it happens on lap number 1. These guys are already going to have to revert to their fast fix, which these guys do get one of. But that's really unfortunate to see these guys have to use their fast fix this early. We'll try and get another look at it here. That's the wrong blip cam to use for this, though. And again, I'm not actually sure who that was. I think that may have been Andrew McMurray. Negative. Excuse us, we are not at all, at least myself, not familiar with the field. And I think that was...
I can actually butt in and tell you who it was, if you don't mind.
Yeah, that was Andrew McMurray, wasn't it?
Yes, Ray Dolly. Okay, Andrew McMurray was on the inside of Ray Dolly entering turn 2. And then McMurray just happened to push up into Dolly out of the turn, and that caused the incident. And just in from race control, Andrew McMurray has been given an EOL penalty for the cause of the caution.
I think that's a fair call there, considering he, again, he dove down inside of Ray Dolly for the position, something we saw Eric Gonzalez do for the lead, and then just washed up, and yeah, made contact, and led to that lap 1 accident. But as they come down the pit lane for the first time, we have a new fastest lap from Zach Buchanan of 1 minute 43. I think that's going to stand for the evening, don't you?
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's definitely a blistering lap, definitely faster than the pole time. That's got to be a new track record.
For sure, and we see Corey Rexford having issues back there in the pits, but coming out first, actually sideways, was Eric Gonzalez, but it's Scott List-Ramler taking back the lead position over... well, actually, we may have had a few cars stay out. We definitely did. So, Scott List-Ramler the first out of the pit lane, but not to the lead. Zach Buchanan actually now your leader in the number 3. And we'll try and get a good view of him.
And I can say I don't think Ray Dolly and Corey Rexford realize they do have a faster pair because both drivers has unfortunately already disconnected from the events.
Well, down to 11. We had 13, and now we know. Yeah, we know which car is going home without any points. It's going to be Ray Dolly in the number 30. Andrew McMurray then as well, going to finish in the rear, taking up P number 3. Negative. Were you saying Corey Rexford disconnected?
Oh, Ray Dolly has actually just reconnected to the event, and so has Corey Rexford?
All right, so possibly just a refresh for those guys. We'll see if they get back into the event and pull those cars back out from behind the wall. Thankfully, we don't have a damaged vehicle policy where they can't do that. So, as we continue on, Zach Buchanan, now your leader. Timothy that name, I can totally say it. It's a matter of putting it together after Timothy. Anyways, Timothy, I'm sorry if you watch this later on. Timothy Trowbridge. There we go. Going to be second place here. And that really is a tongue twister. I mean, say that 3 times fast.
Timothy Trowbridge, Timothy Trowbridge, Timothy Trowbridge.
That was sloppy, but I'll take it. But yeah, no, getting back to things, this restart I think is going to be interesting to watch because obviously going to single file now, as the league does, just like IndyCar racing. And that's going to matter. Why? Well, simply because I don't think we're going to see that 3 wide quite as quickly, probably out of turn number 1 rather than down the front straight away on this restart. I think it's going to take them a second to really get the air working in their favor and get a draft up on somebody and make those passes.
Oh yeah, definitely. And the way this league works with the restart rules, the restart box is anywhere between your spotter saying pace car is off and the green flag coming out. So our leader, Zach Buchanan, will be able to go anytime between that and maybe catch the rest of the field sleeping.
And we'll have to wait and see what he does. Quickly, let's go ahead and look at some of our onboard cameras here tonight. First off, we've got one to drivers left. We'll also bring up Zach Buchanan's stats because we're going to use him as our guinea pig here. So we've got one off to drivers left, looking ahead. We've also got one to drivers left, looking behind, and I love that effect. Seeing the hot exhaust pour out of those exhaust pipes and distort the image. That looks really, really cool.
All right, man. Light you back on the pace car. We're not going green this time. We are not.
Oh, and we actually have a delayed yellow.
Yeah, delayed yellow there. So we have more time to look at pretty cameras as Nate digs up the reason for that. We have one off to drivers right, looking back at the driver and the cars behind, and then one directly behind the driver, behind the TV pod. Well, I shouldn't say the TV pod, behind that roll bar that keeps the driver safe if the car rolls over, and that is looking straight back, so you see the distortion from the exhaust, and it looks like we're actually getting those drivers a couple of wave bys.
Yes, Corey Rexford and Ray Dolly have both been waved around the pace car, and Rockwell Seacrest has been giving an EOL penalty for some reason. I'm not sure why. I'll try to look back and see. We actually have 3 cars on pit road right now, which is Seacrest, Roberts, and Preet.
Well, we'll watch this race out of the pit lane. Looks like it's going to be Preet and then Seacrest and Roberts. So Will Roberts now going to the rear of that little pack as he continues to sit in the pit lane.
Not sure why he's still sitting in pit lane, but I have looked back at the footage, and Seacrest was given an EO penalty due to excessive blinking under caution.
Gotcha. Well, we have a new fastest lap. That was, I believe it said Corey Rexford. And so we can actually, you know what, let's go ahead and look at his paint scheme. Let's go ahead and give him a little bit of TV time here. Had a bit of an issue there in that first yellow. We'll see if he can come back. Does have the fastest lap now of 44.913. I think that one's going to stand now.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And his paint scheme is definitely an interesting color combo, as all the proximity racing cars are, across their stock cars to their Indy cars to even the Mercedes GT3 car. I've ran with Corey a lot on iRacing and know him fairly well.
All right, well, as we go back up to the front, Zach Buchanan still leading. Bring up a little bit of race info for you here. We've had 1 caution from 3 going on 4 laps, and 1 lead change under yellow. we come to the green flag. Restarting the race after that lap 1 incident. Zach Buchanan in control. The green comes out. He waited a long time in that restart box, but the field is off and away under the flag stand. You see the new waving flag. And again, not much fanning out on this restart. Not going to see much, I think, with only 13 cars in single file restarts. But watch for these guys to fan out of turn number 1 as they start to use the air against the other drivers around them.
Yeah, and we look ahead, and there's actually a huge gaggle of cars right now. 2 rows of double file behind Zach Buchanan headed down into the tunnel turn. They all get sorted out, and I figured I would just throw this in there. Corey Rexford did drop to the back on the restart. I'm not sure why, but he still is, as we have a challenge for the lead on Zach Buchanan.
Scott List-Ramler coming back to take his lead back away. He started on pole and now he's driving to get back to the front. He sets the new fast lap on that restart and gets the lead down off into turn 1, clears the number 3, and we see some drivers tracking out to the outside of turn number 1, already experiencing that arrow push on entry of the corner.
Oh yeah, definitely. As we've said before, arrow push is going to be a huge thing, and here we go with the number 14 of I'm sorry, that was a number 14 of Timothy Trowbridge on the outside of the number 98 of Eric Gonzalez entering turn 2.
And you know what? I know Eric Gonzalez to be racing the ABC paints, not Timothy Trowbridge, so that's going to throw me off as well. Eric Gonzalez falls back after his quick assault. Now he's in the clutches of it looks like that is 5th place. I'll find out who in just a moment. John Poole. So our other championship contender now trying to step into the battle.
Yeah, I definitely think John Poole's going to try to get up there as quick as he can to be able to lead a lap and hopefully get ahead of Scott List-Ramler as he dives to the inside of Gonzalez.
Thinks better of it.
I'm sorry?
He thought better of that move, and that was a good choice by him because I don't know if that would have stuck, and I don't know that Eric Gonzalez would have given him the room to make it stick, so that was a good move by him to back out.
Oh, yeah, definitely. But early on, there needs to be that give and take between these drivers and such, because you don't want to have a crash on lap 8 because you were trying to make a dive to the inside.
For sure, a new fast lap. That's Zach Buchanan now sitting in the draft as Scott List-Ramler runs a 42.8. We'll go on board with him as he chases down our leader. He had the lead on that restart, lost it pretty quickly. We'll see if he can get it back as the field snakes down. I say snaking even though it's a straight line down the Long Pond Straight, but really snakes down that straightaway as they're weaving in and out of the air.
Oh yeah, definitely. Rambler's more than likely trying to break the toe as the leader. That way Buchanan and the cars behind him can't get that run on him to be able to get up there and challenge for the lead, as the entire field has now gone single file.
As we watch the field come out of turn 3, now down the long front straightaway into turn number 1, using some really cool cameras, I think, to get really close to the action out of these corners, into these corners. And yeah, these guys are moving rather quickly. Unfortunately, I don't know that we don't have a speed on them that we can show on the broadcast, but talking in excess of 220 miles an hour at the end of the straights.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was on board with Zach Buchanan heading into turn 2, and he was going a max speed of 221 entering the turn, and then down into turn 3, that arrow push again made him go all the way down to 198 to be able to slow down and make the corner.
Yes, the air is going to mean everything, and not quite like a Daytona race in some NASCAR cars or even in Talladega. I don't think that you're going to see that kind of drafting here tonight. The package, well, the setup is just far too tight, and this is a fixed setup race, so they are limited to the setup they are all given, and I just think it's way too tight.
Yeah, definitely, and I definitely feel like the arrow push makes it just that much tighter. And looking back through the field, John Poole 3 actually has some damage on his on the left side of his rear wing. I'm not sure what that's from, but it's definitely going to affect him and make his car handle a lot worse throughout this race.
Yeah, the whole rear of the car is dented in. Thankfully, we have a good camera to show that off, and you can see there's distortion there, aside from just the heat haze from the exhaust, but you can see the actual rear of the body is just completely bent in. The gearbox is bent in and everything, so someone hit him, That's the moral of the story there. Someone hit him in the rear. We just don't know who.
And as you were talking about that, out of turn 2, Zach Buchanan actually smacked the wall. I think he might have some side pod damage.
He definitely has damage, and he bobbled out of turn number 3. He's getting passed already by Timothy Trowbridge. Let's get a replay on this. Go on board with him. So this is coming down the Long Pond straightaway into turn number 2. And watch as he gets tight on exit of the corner. Yeah, he was really close to Ramler. Actually got the curb and just washed up the track and, yeah, hit that wall pretty hard. Thankfully square, but pretty hard. And he is losing all sorts of time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. He really is. Ever since he hit the wall, this is the first time I've seen him hit 200 miles per hour. He has a lot of damage, and he's definitely going to take his fast repair when he comes in and pits.
He's coming in now. He's coming into the pit lane now. So issues for second place, Zach Buchanan.
Yeah, and even locked up entering the pits, so I expect a full service for him. It's really unfortunate the way that this had to happen, but sometimes it's just the way racing goes.
That's definitely true. You know, you get behind somebody, make it. Oh, and he just went through his box too. Had to back up there. But yeah, just big issues there for Zach Buchanan. Thankfully, we'll get service done to his car. Back up to the front, though, Scott List-Ramler walking away with a pretty lead now in that Max Speed TV. Number 57 now has, what, a 2.26 second lead over second place, and that is Timothy Trowbridge.
Yeah, that lead is pretty big, and I think Ramler's actually going to be able to walk away with this right now. And back to the John Poole 3 story, it actually looks like Michael Cozy had some damage on his right front wing.
We can go ahead and check that out. I would guess that the damage would actually be more square in the nose for whatever car hit him. I would say any right front wing damage would probably be from tagging the left rear wheel of another car, maybe. Doesn't quite work like like real life, where it would just completely tear the wing off. You can just get a little bit of damage and move on. But we can go ahead and look back. You said that was Michael Cozy Jr.
Yes, indeed. His right front is extremely bent up. I don't understand how he's been able to make the corners right now because his wing is so messed up.
So Michael Cozy will go ahead and look at a camera to look at his wing, and yeah, the right front wing is completely crumpled in. It does look like the nose is a bit bent. Right at the cap of the nose, it looks like it is a bit bent up. The contrasting yellow to the track kind of, yeah, it looks like it's definitely bent. So he could have been the one that met up with the rear of John Poole the third. We'll also look at Matt Chubbs, and his nose is clean, so I would definitely go ahead and go with your prediction there of Michael Cozy Jr. But going back up to the number 12 of John Poole the third, yeah, he's got a tall order to, I guess, a tall mountain to climb here if he wants to win the championship, but also this guy is one of the winningest drivers of the series, and of course he is one of the longest tenured drivers of the series, of course being involved with the administration, the organization of the league. But even so, to be one of the winningest drivers when there's other drivers who have stuck around through thick and thin, that's pretty impressive.
Oh yeah, definitely. John Poole 3 has a huge resume with IORL. And from what I've heard, he's been around since the beginning. But now, I'm looking at this battle for second place between Timothy Trowbridge and Eric Gonzalez. They were side by side for quite a bit the last lap, and they seem to be continuously going at it.
Yeah, now that these tires are getting worn out, we're starting to see just a run really take shape. These guys are definitely battling side by side. Just saw someone else get pretty close to hitting one another further back. But yeah, as you watch this 14 and the 98, they are crossing each other over, making passes, and this is really some exciting racing, but it's only lap 18. These guys do have over 100 laps left here at Pocono. And oh, that was Trowbridge getting loose on the inside of turn number 3. Can't get too far down there because there just isn't that grip. Now, here comes John Poole the third, looking to make a pass for third.
Yeah, that battle between Trowbridge and Gonzalez. We'll let Poole catch up, and Poole is on the inside of Trowbridge right now, but can't make the pass. We'll see if he can do it into the tunnel turn.
Looking back, it's a bit of a gap from Trowbridge. Now he's going to move down. Actually, he's going to defend pretty well. He actually, I think, lifted early to get down to the bottom and keep the 12 from going down to the inside. That was a good move there from Trowbridge. Now the 12 going to poke his nose low as Trowbridge takes a higher lane. Did he lose some air to the nose? I think he did. Lost some front downforce, and he gives that position up.
Yeah, that aero once again just forced him up the track, and we actually have the number 42 of Matt Chubb peeking at him, but thinks better of it. And all the while this is going on, Scott List-Ramler is just pulling away.
And Scott List-Ramler, again, your favorite to win the championship. I actually want to mention Matt Chubb here because I was going through the standings, and that name just stuck out to me. I just thought it was Gold, almost like Thomas Gold below him in the standings. But anyways, minus the puns, I do want to mention that there are some really close battles throughout the rest of the field that we're going to have to watch throughout the night. Because it's not just the championship battle that we should focus on. There are some drivers that are here to make a few passes over some other guys. As actually, Timothy Trowbridge now getting close to John Poole III for a pass down into turn 3. You can see some of the battles there on the left side of your screen. There's more than just the championship battle going on.
Oh yeah, definitely. As I said earlier, nothing but close, hard racing between all these participants within the league. And I'm not shocked to see multiple battles going on throughout the point standings. I know these drivers are going to fight to win and finish as high as they can. That way they can finish as high as possible within the point standings.
For sure. And I do want to mention, if you do hear crackling through Nate Stewart's mic, apologize for that. There's not much we can do, unfortunately. Tech sometimes, well, it decides to fail. We'll try and get it fixed before we go back on air next time, whenever that may be. But yeah, unfortunately, Nate is working with some pyrotechnics in the background.
Yeah, we're getting a little bit of an early start on July 4th.
That is one way to put it. Now, as Matt Chubb gets close back again to the number 14 of Trowbridge, this battle just will not go away. These guys, and I'm not complaining either, but these guys just keep drawing close to one another. But this is actually allowing Eric Gonzalez to kind of step away a little bit, almost like Ramler did earlier, and has now walked away to his, 4.5 second lead almost. It's actually side by side again out of turn number 3, Matt Chubb and Trowbridge.
Yeah, these guys just do not want to leave each other alone. And to flash back to Texas real quick, I was leading most of the first half of the race. I actually have someone coming off pit road. That is Rockwell Seacrest. I'm not sure why he hit it. But anyways, back to the subject matter at hand. There was nothing but continuous fighting going on at Texas. And I'm honestly not shocked to see the same thing here at Pocono, as Matt Chubb tried to pick to the inside of Trowbridge, but thought better of it.
Yeah, a lot of these guys looking like they want to go ahead and stick their nose in, and then just, again, think better of it. And sometimes I think that might be for the better, possibly. But we'll go ahead and, I guess, see if that is the case. Obviously, it kind of chills the racing out a little bit. If you quickly want to go through some of the field, we've actually now come close to a fifth of the way through the race. And we'll go ahead and pull up the current unofficial results on the right side of your screen here. Ramler walking away with that lead. We'll actually go back up to him. He has just stepped away here. We'll show the blimp cam, and there isn't a car in sight. In fact, I'll go ahead and try and zoom it out a little bit for you. And there isn't another car in sight. Through all of turn number 3, you have to look way back, because he's already at the start-finish line. You have to look all the way back into turn number 3 for Eric Gonzalez. So a serious lead here for Scott List-Ramler. Excuse me. And it's only going to enlarge it, I think, without a caution.
Oh yeah, if we stay green, this lead is definitely going to strengthen and grow as the race goes on, as it is a 4.4 second gap to Eric Gonzalez. We might see... Oh, Ramler just hit the wall out of turn 2.
Oh, and I just switched away from him at the worst time possible. Let's go on board with him and see what happens here. We'll see if it was hard or not. He apexed too early, and yeah, he hit that wall pretty hard.
Ramler is slowing, is in the pits right now, promoting Eric Gonzalez to the lead and John Poole third to second place.
Well, you know, we were saying it's a tall mountain to climb, but That's exactly what John Poole needed right there. If he's going to come back and win this championship from 15 points back, he actually needs to be in second place. And I'll actually refresh myself on the exact conditions on which he can win this championship. But they are very slight. There's a small chance of them happening. In fact, I think one of them involves him finishing second or better. So if he finishes out of the points, so if Scott List-Ramler finishes out of the points, John has to finish second or better, so second or win. And that's if Scott finishes outside of the points. With that bonus point, the 2 bonus points for leading and getting the pole, it may even be down to John Poole III winning this race.
Yeah, I definitely think that Scott List-Ramler is going to have to finish outside of the points tonight, and John Poole is going to have to win if Poole stands a shot at winning the championship. Rambler is off pit road right now and is now in 7th place, 28 seconds behind the leader.
So still in the points for now. We'll see how long that holds. But Scott List-Ramler now having used his fast fix, and that could change if he gets in a wreck or has to use another fast fix. Well, he doesn't have another fast fix, so if he hits the wall again, that's big trouble for the number 57 of Scott List-Ramler. We'll see how that story unfolds, but I was actually thinking in my head while you were talking there, a 15-point lead. You add 2, 1 for leading and 1 for the pole, and actually currently 1 for the most laps led, and John Poole has to win at this point. He has to go up there and take the win. He could finish second if someone else leads the most laps and if John leads a lap, but that's only to tie. That's not to take the championship away, that's to tie. And I think at that point it would probably go to a tiebreaker. We'll see who's won the most races in just a moment on that. And, well, I don't think John will like that stat.
Possibly not, but I actually think we're starting to see a round of green flag pit stops because Trowbridge came down on lap 27. And I think Spencer Preet, Michael Cozy, Andrew McMurray, Ray Dolly, and Rockwell Seacrest have all made pit stops as well. So Scott List-Ramler and Timothy Trowbridge right now are the only ones that have pitted and are still on the lead lap.
So interestingly enough, Spencer Preet has not pitted yet. He last pitted 15 laps ago. So actually he pitted in the middle of that. I don't know what happened, but he pitted in the middle of all that. Matt shoved down the pit lane and actually just exited the pit lane rather. Timothy Trowbridge, though, and Michael Cozy Jr. have made pit stops. Andrew McMurray is also in that group. Ray Dolly has not. Everyone from Corey Rexford and up. So Corey Rexford, Will Roberts, John Poole III, and Eric Gonzalez have not come down the pit lane. So that actually happened at a decent time there for Scott List-Ramler. If you're going to have trouble,
definitely.
at least time it right.
And we see Timothy Trowbridge running a Kyle Larson line in turn 3. I don't know what the deal about that is. Ray Dolly announces over the text channel that he's coming in and pitting. As we see Trowbridge coming at Chubb right now, just a little under a second back. And Scott List-Ramler is closing in the gap on the leader, 25.5 seconds behind now.
And that proves, I think, that the 98 of Eric Gonzalez needs to head down the pit lane, go ahead and get that pit stop out of the way, get back on some new tires, and try to run Rambler back down. Because he might have gained some time here, but he needs to make use of the time he's gained rather than lose it all back.
Yes, definitely. If I'm Gonzalez and Poole, I'd pit right now and just take my losses and then get that tire. Then you'll have better tires than Rambler, so you'll be able to gain that time on him. And I want to shout out the Nork Series last night going green flag at ISM for 150 laps. We saw a lot of strategies in last night's race like we're going to see tonight if this race goes green for the rest of the way.
And you know what? Part of that strategy could be that these guys want to go ahead and stretch the fuel out a little bit longer. That's going to matter. Obviously, you want to limit the amount of pit stops that you take. One of those ways, one of the ways to do that could be to take one less pit stop. Well, obviously, stretch the fuel out is what I'm trying to get at. And run a little bit longer on a tank of fuel. And again, just cut out a pit stop. So these guys may be trying to do that up front.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to see Gonzalez and Bulls try to stretch it out, but I definitely feel like Rambler is on the better strategy currently. I could be proven wrong later in the race, I'm not sure, but Rambler's gap is now down to Rambler's gap is now down to 23.8 seconds.
23.8 seconds the gap to make up, and with a pit stop, that's going to be easy, I think, for him to make up. He was 5 or so seconds ahead to begin with when he had that trouble, and I think he pitted from the lead. So he was still ahead of Gonzalez when he made that pit stop, and considering he's running faster now on newer tires, that's something to keep in mind. Will Roberts dives down the pit lane, the number 41 coming in for service. Corey Rexford follows. Sorry, that was not Rexford. My bad.
All good. Those two are definitely going to take full fuel and 4 tires, and we're going to see where they come out. And Poole is actually really close to... Oh, Poole just smacked the wall at a turn, too.
Well, I'd say that's when he's going to come in. We just watched Will Roberts miss his pit box. I think that was possibly Ray Dolly coming into the pit lane. So we'll watch John Poole now. Yep, he ducks down into the pit lane. Ray Gonzalez. Eric Gonzalez comes with.
Yeah, I definitely think John Poole is going to have to take his fast repair right now to be able to...
Has to.
Fix
the right side is killed.
Oh, yeah, definitely. He's going to have to take that fast repair, and hopefully he'll be able to
Goes
get
through
that
his pit
there.
box.
Oh, no.
A lot of these guys have been doing that. A lot of these guys have been doing that. You can't do that under green.
That is not what John Poole needed at all, especially in this title fight that he's in, and Rambler is off into turn 1.
So a big incident there for John Poole III. Had the possibility of the championship slip back into vision, and now I think it's gone away for a while. It's going to be tough to overcome that. The lead that Rambler had to begin with was already pretty insurmountable, but when he hit the wall and came down the pit lane, they had a chance to take advantage of that, and I just don't think they did correctly.
Oh, no, definitely. I feel like as soon as Rambler hit the wall and came down in the pits, they should have came down with him, because that would have been the best way to gain time on Rambler.
You know, I don't entirely disagree. We also want to keep in mind that now Zach Buchanan back into second place. The way that all works out is pretty remarkable. He has slotted right back into second and actually splits that lead up just a little bit. Yeah, from Rambler back to Gonzalez would be almost 10 seconds, but Buchanan's right in the middle of that. Well, not right in the middle of that, but at 8 seconds back of the leader. So Buchanan kind of sticking... Oh, and then he hits the wall. That was, I think, a lighter tap, though, but you saw he just got tied out of turn number 2.
Oh, yeah. I don't know what it is, but I think half the field has smacked the wall at a turn 2 in this race, and it's definitely... And the thing is, Buchanan was by himself. I don't know if he was just pushing too hard or what. Now Gonzalez is actually closing in on Buchanan, and we might see a fight here.
Yeah, if that hurt the 3 car at all, that's going to make it even easier for Eric Gonzalez to draw in on the number 3 of Zach Buchanan. We'll go on board with Gonzalez, actually, as he tries to reel that number 3 in, and some shade down at turn number 2. That's going to help these drivers.
Oh, yeah, definitely. A huge thing for grip and racing is clouds, because it cools the track down and provides way more grip, and Gonzalez is going to the outside of Buchanan.
Like he
what
was standing
a move.
still. Remember, Buchanan's on some old tires here, though. It's been 23 laps since he pitted.
Yeah, I think Buchanan might be trying to stretch it out and cut a pit stop off of a strategy, like you mentioned earlier.
Well, remember, he had to come in early. He hit the wall earlier and exhausted his fast repair. Came in early off sequence. Now he's hit the wall again, and is going to fall even further off sequence, considering he's going to be so much further back. He's losing time. He might have knocked the toe out on that race machine.
Yeah, definitely. That actually happened to me in the Indianapolis 500 this year, unfortunately, and it just completely killed my car. So I know what Buchanan is going through right now, and Gonzalez is actually cutting into Rambler's lead.
Those tires are making a difference. He's taking it from 10 seconds down to 8.3. And now John Poole at 10 seconds back. So as this little string of cars reels Zach Buchanan in. That is going to be John Poole, Matt Chubb, and Timothy Trowbridge. This battle actually for 5th, possibly heating up. Matt Chubb gets a little bit tight out of turn number 1. Continues on. Neither one of those guys hit the wall, although they got pretty close.
And Poole is making a dive for Buchanan in turn 2. Gets the pass done, and like Buchanan was standing still.
Yeah, again, like that number 3 was standing still, those old tires showing now, and getting off sequence like that, again, it just hurt that number 3. I do want to mention, since the last time we've broadcasted a race here at Pit Stop TV, iRacing has actually added dynamic clouds and the ability for, you know, what we're seeing here, where part of the track is in shade, part of the track in the sun. So we'll go to our far blimp now and show exactly what I'm talking about, and you can see to the turn 3 side of the track in the shade, the turns 1 and 2 sides of the track coming back into the sun now. So as a cloud rolls over the speedway, you can really see that in practice.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think iRacing is doing a really good job with all the new features that they're adding, the dynamic clouds, and the day to night transitions came in with the 2019 S1 update. They've added numerous things over the past few months, and it's definitely improving the sim.
It definitely is. As we come over to, well, we've eclipsed lap 40. As we get further and further into the race, I do want to take a quick break. Just for us, we'll step away from the mics for a second, but give you all the sights and sounds of the track, and we will crank it up here at Pit Stop TV, so go ahead and turn the volume up. We'll go ahead and show you some awesome sights and some awesome sounds. Get ready, these guys are going to be going fast. back. Hopefully those went some cool sights and sounds. Set up some new cameras this week, and I really like the way they came out. You did see a few pit stops happen there. That's why we're bringing it back instead of waiting a little bit longer, because I could go through camera angles all day long. But we saw Zach Buchanan come down the pit lane. He's back in and losing tons of time. It's our number 3 who took the lead early by virtue of a caution, has just fallen from graces and is now scraping at the bottom of the barrel to find a decent finish. Just ahead now of Ray Dolly and Rockwell Seacrest. We saw Spencer Preet go to a new fast time there. We'll go ahead and show that number 27. He's been quietly sitting in the back just running fast laps. He did recently pit. That's why you saw him run that fast lap. So Spencer Preet now top of your time charts, but still top of the board is Scott List-Ramler in the number 57. And Nate and I have been watching the times and the gaps and things, and I just don't know that even with Eric Gonzalez's charge here, now that he has the newer tires and can go just that little bit longer on fuel, I just don't know that it's going to help him win this race. It might give him a slightly better chance, but I don't know if it's going to give him an opportunity to win yet.
I definitely feel like Gonzalez is going to have to pull a different strategy and change it up if he's going to try to win this race. In my opinion, I can't really say anything because I'm the type of driver that tries to stretch it out as long as possible to just make all that time up after the sequence and such. But I think if I'm in Gonzalez's head right now, short pit, get that time on Ramler and get past him right before he comes out of the pits.
We'll have to wait and see what he does. He has been continuing to gain, but that gaining has slowed down. So the slow bleed of Scott List-Ramler's lead has, it has gotten slower. It has slowed down even further. So as we go up to Scott List-Ramler's number 57, actually, we can show that he has led 33 of 50 laps. Now 34 50 laps as he comes across the start-finish line this time by. He's actually coming into pits. That was a good time to go to him. We'll see how this pit stop is, and actually that was a pretty nice entry.
Yeah, for sure. And right now Gonzalez is stuck behind the lap car of Ray Dolly, so we're going to see what happens right here. Is Dolly just going to let him go, or is Gonzalez going to have to fight? And it looks like Dolly just let him go into turn 1.
Good move there from Dolly. Ramler, who slid into his box, but right on the money. So Scott List-Ramler, aside from hitting that wall that one time around, has not really had many mistakes in that number 57 tonight. Looking like he's, I'd say he was already the championship favorite, but definitely reasserting himself as a deserving champion.
Oh yeah, definitely. He's been very strong all season, and he's definitely showing why he thinks he should win the championship tonight. Gonzalez stays out, and so does Poole.
Yeah, they have probably another, I'd say, 7-8 laps to go on this run, which is going to matter, I think, down the road. Actually, who was that behind Gonzalez that just smacked? Sorry, that was not Gonzalez. I think that was Ramler that smacked the fence. Someone behind Ramler. But yeah, I think Eric Gonzalez and John Poole, they're in decent positions. I don't know that it's going to help them get ahead of Ramler, and especially with the way Ramler is running, I don't know that John Poole has a very big chance. It's still early, but man, I just going through my head trying to think of the scenarios that it would take for that number 12 to win. It's such a slim chance right now.
It really is. I won't lie. I think Poole is going to need a miracle at this point because Ramler is just that fast tonight. And we're starting to close it on halfway, about 20 laps away from it. And we actually have not seen Poole even take the lead yet. So,
and that's going to matter because that is a bonus point.
Right. And if I remember correctly, there is a bonus point for most laps led, too.
Yep, and that goes in the favor of Scott List-Ramler.
Right. So, at this point, Poole is going to need a miracle. I think Ramler's going to have a mechanical failure or smack the wall again or something if Poole is going to win this championship.
I don't disagree at all, and we're on board with John Poole right now, and it's such a hard battle to, I guess, overcome. Again, we've been talking about it all night long so far. It's not going to be easy, and it's just gotten harder and harder, I think, as the night has gone on, considering how fast Scott List-Ramler is. I mean, Scott List-Ramler, 34 laps led, currently third, just 20 seconds behind these guys, and closing now with those new tires. And that was after a pit stop. These guys pit, and they come out 10 seconds behind the guy. He's just continuously putting time on them.
Yeah, Rambler's gap is rapidly closing because he's on new tires, and I'm honestly not sure why Gonzalez and Poole haven't pitted yet.
Again, it has to be for fuel. It has to be trying to stretch that fuel out. That's the only thing I can imagine.
Yeah, I think that might be the reason why. I think they might be trying to do one less pit stop than Rambler, but I'm not too sure what their strategy is right now. In all honesty,
you know, if you're John Poole, why don't you try and make a deal with Eric Gonzalez here? Have Eric come down one lap sooner, let John lead that next lap. With the 20 seconds back to Scott List-Ramler, they're not going to get passed for that position until after they come across the line down the pit lane. So John Poole really could use that lap led just so he gets that bonus point in the bank. It's still going to be really, really hard, but it helps that one little bit, pretty much, that 1%.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. If I'm Poole right now, I'm trying to talk to my spotter to get with Gonzalez's spotter and be like, hey, Gonzalez should put a lap early. That way I can get my lap led, and I'm going to have to book it like the Starship Enterprise with that Star Trek-sponsored car.
I like the reference there. That was a good one. You're learning the ways, and if you don't know, ladies and gentlemen, this is Nate's first, I think, real experience broadcasting. So that was a good one. You got to make those corny little jokes to fit into the broadcast a little bit, and I like that one. That was good.
Yeah, definitely. With it being my first broadcast ever, I'm definitely trying my hardest to get this down pat.
Jokes?
Yeah, the corny jokes are a part of it. I definitely learned a lot by watching Fox on NASCAR.
Well, you know, that's the best way, and actually, that's a good time to mention. I simply want to thank DW for everything he did, and quite honestly, this channel, I don't know that we necessarily have dedicated fans, but this channel, Pit Stop TV, wouldn't exist without DW. Oh, it's actually Zach Buchanan tagged the wall down the straightaway. You saw that in the background there, but no, again, this channel, me being interested in broadcasting, it wouldn't be a thing without DW, because watching DW, Larry Mack, and Mike Joy commentate those races in the early 2000s when I was still quite young and impressionable, well, that led to me playing with toy cars on the living room floor, the bedroom floor, whatever, you know, and just, you know, thinking I was them. And, well, that led to this, so you're welcome. But no, anyways, again, serious thank you to DW for everything he did for NASCAR as a driver, as a commentator, even team-owned there for a while. Just everything he's done really, I think, helped the sport in so many ways. And to have him retire was quite sad, but also quite happy, and definitely a tearjerker there at Sonoma.
Yeah, definitely. I wish nothing but the best of luck to DW in his retirement. I want to thank him for everything he's done for NASCAR. I grew up watching him, Larry Mack and Mike Joy, like you said, and DW's been a huge inspiration on me as well. He's goofy like I am, and he actually inspired me to try to get into this broadcasting stuff, and look at where I am right now.
Well, not quite making the big time, but getting close. And I do actually want to take the theme of thanking people to another level and thank a couple of sponsors here tonight. We've got a couple of league sponsors we'll go through first, those being the Pit Limiter Broadcast. You can see their logo there in the bottom left. Admittedly, we don't know too much about them, and again, admittedly, this deal was brought together pretty quickly, but definitely look at the Pit Limiter Broadcast, I'd imagine on YouTube or anywhere you would find podcasts, and check them out. Also want to thank JPB Gaming for sponsoring the series and, well, helping make this happen, as well as Area 52 Designs. They are the title sponsor of the league. And so thanks to them, of course, for sponsoring the league. I don't have one of their logos on hand, unfortunately. Again, things were put together pretty quickly, and if we do come back with these guys at a later date, well, that'll be sorted out. Going down the list of people to thank, Narwhal Bloodbath is actually a home field event for them. They're out of Erie, Pennsylvania. They're a metal band. It's not for everybody, but I think everybody should at least give them a chance. Go ahead and check them out on social media and YouTube and see what they've got to offer for you. You might just find a new band that you're interested in. Also want to thank Unreal Esports for being a partner of Pit Stop TV. And you can also follow Unreal Esports and Team Unreal on Facebook. And we actually just ran the 6 hours at Watkins Glen this past weekend. That was an event. Sorry, 2 weekends. No, it wasn't past weekend. Time just flows, man. Time is... It's so hard for me to keep up with these days. But it was this past weekend. It was an interesting event. We ran Le Mans a couple of weeks before. Now we're getting ready for Spa. And Nate, you better be there. But yeah, so again, thank you to Unreal Esports. And going down the list, we got to thank H&M Automotive. H&M Automotive as well, out of Columbia, Missouri. And big thanks to them. They're a partner of Unreal Esports, Team Unreal, Pit Stop TV, the whole shebang. And yeah, just thank you to everybody who supports Pit Stop TV, and so on and so forth. Now, continuing on with the strategy talks here, Nate, as we look back to John Poole III, as he continues to try and chase down Eric Gonzalez, although is he really chasing him down at this point? It seems like they're so stagnant at this point, and they're just trying to play the strategy game, which is not a bad game to play at this point in the race.
Yeah, definitely. I've been watching the results screen the past couple laps, and Gonzalez will pull out a couple tenths, and then Poole will pull it back in, as strange as that sounds because of the name. But they're definitely in a stalemate right now, as Poole actually gains 2 tenths on Gonzalez that lap. And another strategy talk real quick, referencing the 24 hours of Spa. If someone buys me the track, I will buy the car.
All right, well, sponsor Nate here, I suppose. And actually, John Poole, I think checking his tires or something might have broke the car. That was weird. He just swerved down the back straightaway with a long pong straight down into turn number 2. More on that hopefully soon. That was interesting because he swerved once he left turn number 1. And is that Eric Gonzalez pitting? It is. So John Poole staying out one more lap. He's getting that lap lead. I called that. I'd just like to know. I need to go buy a lottery ticket. So John Poole gets that bonus point finally. That's John Poole 1, Scott List-Ramler 34. So you're doing good, John. The professor finding the first notch in the arrow, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely, but Poole is out on extremely old tires compared to Ramler right now.
30 laps.
And Ramler is closing in hot. It is a 17-second gap to John Poole right now.
And that is now, well, it was 17.8, now it's 17.4.3. Closing a tenth every few tenths, it seems like, well, every few seconds. So, as he actually comes down the pit lane now, we'll go on board with John Poole as he gets service to his car. Do not slide through your box, John. We're rooting for you here. Now gets 2 laps led, so now it's John Poole 2, Scott List-Ramler 34 still. Comes into his box, slides in, jacks go up. So that was good. The pneumatic jacks deployed when they needed to, so didn't slide through. Maybe a slow entry to avoid that, but still. Got into his box that time, rooting for you, John, and leaves the pit lane, gets back onto the track. But now Ramler, your leader once again.
Yeah, most definitely. I was watching as Rambler darted off into turn 1 right now. Oh, someone just hit the wall ahead of us.
That was Rexford. Corey Rexford out of control down on the inside. Could this get us a yellow? If he loses control here, trying to come down to the pit lane, it could. Corey Rexford in control for now. Oh, he loses it into the grass, but I think that's too far out of the racing surface. No, we're not going to see a yellow for that. Hangs on to it. That was some good driving by him.
Yeah, superb driving by Rexford right there.
Let's get a replay. You keep going, but let's get a replay here. I want to see what happens.
Yeah, Rexford is definitely a good driver, and I'm not shocked to see him save that.
So from the blimp cam, watch the car in the center of your screen. Just arrow push actually got behind Will Roberts, hits the wall, and this was right in front of our leader. Almost came back up and collected Scott List-Ramler. Thankfully did not. So now he gets service to his car. I don't believe he has a faster car in the bank, so that's going to take a little while on that, number 03. Now back to the leader. Again, Scott List-Ramler has just been driving away and now is actually, I think, did he just catch up to Michael Cozy, or did Cozy just unlap himself? Because I think it was the latter of those two.
I'm actually not too sure because I'm looking at the drivers in the pits right now, and Ray Dolly is on pit road with a lot of damage currently, and so is the 36 of Rockwell Seacrest. I'm not sure what happened to those two drivers, but definitely an unfortunate end to their nights tonight.
Well, they've been in for a while. Going minutes back, they've been in for some time. So I think that's just news that we didn't catch, but old news at that. So unfortunately, their night's ending from the looks of things, and we're getting close to 50 to go. So we've actually eclipsed our halfway break. Well, I shouldn't say halfway break. You see, every once in a while I go and do work with LSR TV. Shout out to those guys. But I just get so used to hearing halfway break for some reason that I just think, when halfway comes along, break. But I don't just think that in the race, I think that in words. And actually, Cozy taps the wall, I think, there for a second. But for some reason, whenever I think of the word halfway, I think of break right after. Anyways, my bad, we've eclipsed halfway. There we go. As Cozy goes a lap down. That is to go one lap down. Now Will Roberts, the last car on the lead lap, just a few seconds ahead of that 57. So we'll actually look from the rear of that 41, and that 57 is coming.
Yeah, definitely, and I'm actually looking back at the footage right now. Rockwell Seacrest has actually now disconnected from the event again. Wait, no, that's the first time he disconnected, my apologies. But Seacrest is out of the race now after hitting a wall really early on in the race and trying to continue on. And now I'm looking at Ray Dolly, who on lap 54 smacked the wall out of turn 2 and then went and got down and got stuck in the inside wall. And Corey Rexford is also just disconnected.
All right, well, unfortunate news for those drivers, but we continue on. Watching now the number 98 of Eric Gonzalez lead the 12 of John Poole III around the racetrack. And these cats are about 11.5 seconds back of our leader, Scott List-Ramler. So they are, again, starting to climb that mountain that just seems to get taller every 30 laps or so. And yeah, these guys, I think, are just, they're in a hole that they are not digging themselves. They're actually piling the dirt back in, but every once in a while someone comes along and I think just builds walls around said hole and just makes that hole that they got to climb out of even taller. So it's like every once in a while, it's pretty much take one step forward, 2 steps back kind of thing.
Yeah, definitely, and I hate to break it to you, but Spencer Preed has actually hit the wall out of turn 1, and he is disconnected from the race now. But the bad news is not for the drivers that are disconnected. The bad news is for John Poole III.
Scott List-Ramler, I think, may have just clinched that championship then because he cannot finish outside of the points. He's gotten bonus points, and I think short of John Poole winning, yeah, no, we've actually known for a while that Ramler couldn't finish outside of the points, but I think with the lowest down that he can finish, I don't know that he has a chance now. That championship may have just gone to Scott List-Ramler. We'll wait on official results later on because anything can still happen. There's actually a pass being made for second place. Bit of a couple of flinches down off into turn number 1 as Poole goes down to the inside, takes the inside line. Can Gonzalez get the run out of turn number 1? He was almost there. Tried to cross Poole back over. Now sticks in behind. Now he's going to go for the move down to the inside. My tongue is just twisting on itself. Now Gonzalez makes the pass back for second place. Here comes Poole, though.
Yeah, Poole trying to peek back down to the inside, entering turn 3. Thinks better of it, and will just ride behind Gonzalez, entering turn 3. Has to check up because of the arrow push, and now we'll see him get a huge toe down the long front straightaway.
He dips out for a second there. I don't think he wants to close in too quickly. I think he wants to maybe sit and ride for this corner. Not a bad idea, so you can get some downforce there on the wing, and no. Eric Gonzalez says, no, you're not getting any downforce from me. Pulls back down in front of the number 12, and now motors away, but the draft coming back into effect for the number 12, getting him a little bit closer, second by second, but not close enough. Couldn't peek the nose out to the inside in the tunnel turn, and he loses time again.
Yeah, definitely. Poole was right on the gearbox of Gonzalez entering turn 2, but just couldn't make it work because of the aero push. He actually pushes up into turn 3 again. And meanwhile, while these two are battling, I hate to say it again, but Ramler just keeps pulling away.
And they closed in for a moment, and they've lost a little bit of time, but they actually are not losing too much time, mostly because they're still drafting, and a little bit of leapfrogging there. So if you draft up to the guy in front of you and go ahead, obviously you're then going to close in on the leader, and then if the other guy in the battle does the same thing, he's going to close in a little bit and repeat the process. But they've stopped that leapfrogging. I think heated their tires up a little too much to do so anymore, and now you're seeing that gap to kind of stagnate. But yeah, I mean, they closed in a little more than they are now, and then fell back just a little bit.
Yeah, definitely. The gap is now 10.8. Oh,
Going
and
for the
we
pass.
have a dive. Let's see if Poole can get it
He's
done.
going to clear him into one.
We'll see if Gonzalez can fight back on the outside. He actually backs out of it. Might try to get the run down in turn 2.
For now, it's all John Poole III as they race back into 2. Now here comes Eric Gonzalez back on the inside. The GMS racing machine takes that position back away. Slide job in turn number 2. Here comes the crossover. John Poole getting that wing to the inside of Eric Gonzalez to the left rear, and now taking the inside line through the flat turn number 3. Again, inspired by Milwaukee, and you know Milwaukee is famous for that top side coming back and getting the run down the straightaway. You see it there. Eric Gonzalez keeps that position for now.
Yeah, definitely.
Another move there. Gonzalez blocked that one a little bit, but he gets that one defensive move before it's actually blocking, so that was close.
Yeah, it really was. And we see Poole making another comeback on Gonzalez. I think he'll be able to get it done down into the tunnel turn.
The wash from the rear of the 12 car as Gonzalez tries to do something with it. No, he falls back in the tunnel turn. That was a great pass there because it shut that 98 from getting front downforce through the tunnel turn there, and that is one of the most critical corners for getting air to your wing to actually make the corner. So that was a great pass there by John Poole. He just has to be weary of that number 98 coming back and trying to do the same thing to him this next lap.
Yeah, definitely. And actually on that lap, John Poole closed in 2/10 on Ramler's lead. Not much, but it is something. And I think Poole has finally realized that he needs to book it and try to get to the lead and hope something happens to Ramler if he's going to win this thing.
I just don't know if there's a chance for either one of these guys to win this race without a caution at this point. 10 seconds by Scott List-Ramler just driving away, and you don't just overcome that. That takes a caution, that takes a wreck, that takes something drastic to happen. So we'll see if maybe they can do it, but I don't know that without a yellow these guys can do it.
If I'm Poole, Gonzalez, or anyone else in the field, I'm definitely wanting to see a caution right now. But remember, you never want to be the caution.
That's exactly correct. We've seen multiples of these guys hit the fence out of turn number 2 especially, but also out of 1 and 3. And, of course, we don't have a turn number 4 here this week. Pocono only has 3 corners. It doesn't have 6. That's up for debate, but either way, again, these cars get very tight on their own. We saw multiples of these guys hit the wall in qualifying, let alone the race. And so when you add in that aero push, add in the cars that you're racing against, it gets that much harder. But John Poole scraping away at that lead ever so slightly. And yeah, we're starting to see some gains made there from that number 12 car.
Yeah, he's been gaining a couple tenths the past couple laps, but I just don't know if it's going to be enough if it stays green for the rest of the race, which we might see. We don't have very many cars left in the race, and the less cars, the less chance there is for a caution. And also, Pocono has 5 turns.
You know, that's a way to look at things. I'm not sure how to process that. Oh, actually, Gonzalez dipping down the pit lane. That's early as well. That is very early.
Like I said earlier, short
Oh,
pit.
and you know why? Because Scott List-Ramler just pitted as well.
Oh, we actually missed that. Whoops. But Rambler's
Well,
up
they're
on
both
the
in the pit
jacks
lane
now.
right now.
And Poole is actually out in the lead right now. We'll see if he comes down and such. Ray Dolly has actually just disconnected, but he's 25 laps down. It's not really going to make a difference, but unfortunate for his night to end.
Eric Gonzalez leaves the pit lane. You saw Rambler exit. Now Gonzalez in the number 98. And that's going to shake things up because now Gonzalez is back on the same strategy as Scott List-Ramler. I think since he got passed by the number 57, he kind of had to admit defeat there on that strategy. I'm not sure why you would change strategy with 44 laps to go, though. That seems bizarre to me.
I'm not sure, and by the way, by the things I've been looking at, I don't think people can go more than tongue twister, just like you. We've only really seen like 35 to 40 lap runs.
Not even that. We've seen about 35 is the roof, and I'm gonna tell you, John Poole is in the clear for that right now. He comes in one more time and he's good. He has to wait a few more laps though, but he's good at one more stop. The guys that just pitted are not.
Yeah, definitely. I think Rambler and Gonzalez are actually going to have to come down and pit again with a splash and go, maybe. We're not sure, but if Poole can actually stretch this out, he should be able to go to the end.
That's a bizarre play call from Eric Gonzalez, because Rambler was already in that hole from when he pitted earlier after he hit the wall. But for Eric Gonzalez to do that, I am astonished. I don't know. I just don't know. That seems bizarre to me.
Yeah, very bizarre call by Eric Gonzalez there. I'm not sure what he was thinking too much. I think he might be trying to beat Rambler on pace right now, but I honestly think Poole is in the catbird seat right now with that strategy call by those two.
Gonzalez's one advantage over Rambler was when Rambler would pit, and he just threw that completely out the window. So, that's some confusing strategy calling there. That has me at a loss for words, honestly. But this is going to stack up John Poole's laps led. Now, the reason I mentioned that, he has 5 laps led currently. Scott List-Ramler has 49. No, it's going to be a difference of 2 laps. I think Scott List-Ramler, by virtue of that alone, just locked up the championship.
Yeah, I think the same. Poole,
and that's got to sting, because that is a difference of 2 laps from my count. Because Scott List-Ramler has 49 laps led. John Poole the third currently at 6 now with 41 to go.
Yeah, it's really going to sting for Poole. He's ran well all season, but so is Rambler. And that put those two in this position to fight for the title tonight, but I just don't think it's going to work out for John Poole tonight.
Yeah, no, I think obviously his one chance involved him leading laps and taking the most laps led away from Scott List-Ramler, but also for Scott List-Ramler to fall outside of the points. That's not going to happen, as Ray Dolly is 32 laps down and I believe out of the race at this point. You saw Seacrest fall out of the race as well. Corey Rexford out of the event. Spencer Pre out of the event. So that's 4 down at the bottom that are just out of the race at this point. I don't think there's a chance. It really does. It really is unfortunate to say that. I don't think. If so, there might be a chance to tie, but I don't think there's a chance to win outright.
No, definitely not. There's no chance to win outright now for John Poole. I think he might just try to win this race to get some sort of positive out of this event tonight.
Go down fighting.
Exactly. Because I don't think he wants to be known for just letting that championship go. If Rambler wins the championship tonight, which he's more than likely going to, I think Poole wants to win the race.
I brought those windows up in the wrong order. Sorry about that. But there you go. You can see the unofficial results versus the point standings coming into the event. Now, keep in mind the point system. You get 20 points for winning, 16 for finishing second. Then it goes on to 14, 12, 10, 8, is it 7, 6, 5, 4, so on. I can actually look back at the results. See, they're based on the kart point system from 1984 to 2001. I'm sorry to say, but I was not an IndyCar fan at the time, or sorry, a kart fan at the time. I was a little bit past that time. Sorry about that. Anyways, so it's 10, 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, obviously, Ramler cannot finish outside of the points. We'll do a little bit of math here on the screen for you guys to see. Ramler cannot finish outside the points. Ray Dolly has that one locked up. Rockwell Seacrest taking 12th. That's 1 point. The lowest that I'm seeing that Ramler can finish without Preet or Rexford getting back on the racing surface is going to be 9th, and that was if he was to crash out now pretty much and go back behind Zach Buchanan. And 9th pays math 4 points. That makes it 19 total points, the gap. So change that 5 over on the left and 15 to a 9, make it 19-point difference. John Poole currently would get 20 points for winning. So that gives John Poole the advantage by 1. However, you have to figure in bonus points. Ramler is going to finish with the most laps led. He has 1 lap led overall. That is now a 21-point difference. He has the pole, I think, right now, as they run. Scott List-Ramler wins this championship by 1 point. Or, well, no, sorry. The worst is by 1 point. He would win it currently by
A lot of points.
13 points, I think. So that's I quick maths here, but I don't know that there's a chance for John Poole III.
No, especially after the math you just done, there is no chance for John Poole to win this championship, unfortunately. Because right now you have Zach Buchanan chugging along at 9th, 2 laps down. Michael Cozy Jr. in 8th, a lap down. Andrew McMurray in 7th, a lap down. And Matt Chubb in 6th place, a lap down. Timothy Trowbridge is actually also about to go a lap down here pretty soon because he is 41 seconds behind the leader. But it would take Scott List-Ramler to crash out right now and Spencer Preet to come back on the track, which I don't think is going to happen, and run all those laps to get past Ramler for Poole to win the championship.
It would have to happen right now. And we're seeing the 57 has not crashed yet. So considering he's still on the racetrack, still moving forward, and has a little bubble around him, he's got a car behind him, but aerodynamics going to help him there. I think it's getting much, much safer to say that after this 10th season in the International Online Racing League, Scott List-Ramler looking like your eventual champion here tonight. I won't call it official yet, anything could still happen, but at least for now, it's looking like that 57 has this thing wrapped up.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to shout out Ramler for the hard effort he's put in all season. I haven't ran very much this season, unfortunately, due to outside issues, but I've seen the posts and the videos and such. Ramler has put in a lot of effort this season, and I definitely think he's a deserving champion. But I don't want John Poole to go without credit. He has put up a great fight this season with Ramler, and definitely those two deserve to battle for the championship. Unfortunately for Poole, it's more than likely not going to work out, but still, second place is better than nothing.
Yeah, I just don't see it happening at this point in the event. We've gone over the points and the point structure so many times now. Unfortunately, I don't see it working out for John Poole. The professor, I think his math just doesn't quite line up at this point in the season, unfortunately for him, but it means good things for Scott List-Ramler, of course. Let's not get downtrodden over one driver losing. We are, of course, the broadcasters. We can't take sides. Hush. Not that we really do. But, Scott List-Ramler like you said, has driven an incredible season as he comes up on these lap cars. Is this full position, actually?
No, they're lap.
Matt Chubb is actually a whole lap ahead of Zach Buchanan. Actually, let's watch Scott List-Ramler. He's got to deal with Zach Buchanan here. Could something happen side by side down into turn number 2? This is a 2-lap difference between the two. They're getting tight out of turn number 2. No contact, though, as they head down to turn 3.
I have to think Rambler's not happy about that right now.
Yeah, the lap car Buchanan to race him like that was a bit aggressive. To hang on his right side, I won't say door, but side pod there. That was a bit aggressive, that was a bit surprising, but also these guys have other races going on. And Cozy Buchanan actually aren't for position either. Buchanan has no one who's racing against at this point in the race, but he does still have a race to run. Treat it like an endurance race at this point, there's still time left.
Right, Cozy's actually on the outside of Buchanan right now, entering the tunnel turn. Buchanan lets him go like he did with Rambler. Shocking to see that. So now Cozy's going to try to run down Matt Chubb.
And now you're seeing Andrew McMurray draw up alongside of Zach Buchanan side by side through turn number 3. McMurray clears that number 3, and he gets to set his sights on Cozy, actually. Those two battling. And Trowbridge actually just went 2 laps down. He's crashed. He's crashed. And John Poole in the pit lane. Let's quickly see if we can get a replay on Trowbridge. And he crashed out of turn number 2, it looks like. We're watching the replay now.
Oh, wow. That was a scary incident.
So we'll watch it here, and then we'll get back to the John Poole story. He just hits the wall on his own. Then, oh my gosh, Elliott Sadler all over again. And gets left on his roll bar there, and that's his night over.
Yeah, unfortunately, that really sucks for Timothy Trowbridge. He was running extremely well. We even saw him fighting up towards the front tonight. Really unfortunate for his night to end like that.
That it is. Now, on the other side of the coin, though, John Poole III, good to go on fuel to the end. The question is, what do Scott List-Ramler and Eric Gonzalez do?
Gonzalez is in the pits and Buchanan has crashed.
Well, Zach Buchanan with a ton of damage. Let's go back and see what happens. It was out of turn number 3, it looks like. No, out of 2. It starts out of 2. Watching the replay on our end, he was behind McMurray, had nothing to do with Gonzalez, and just gets tight, hits the wall. And down to the inside, that was a really, really heavy hit for the number 3, and that takes another one out of the race. Something else happened here, though. He's going through the grass, he's going off-roading, and that may have actually been it. But Zach Buchanan, unfortunately, his night seems to be over. That number 3 has a ton of damage all over it.
Yeah, for sure, and I think Poole is going to be good to go to the end now, but remember, Gonzalez and Rambler both pitted on the same lap. I think Rambler's going to have to come down and pit again.
He is. He's literally in the pit lane right now as you say that. Scott List-Ramler back in pit lane. This gives the advantage back to John Poole. Regardless of what Eric Gonzalez does now, actually, he already pitted. So yeah, regardless of Eric Gonzalez now, John Poole has 32 seconds over Gonzalez. It should be about 20 over Scott List-Ramler.
Yeah, and as Poole rockets off into turn 1, I honestly think Poole has locked up this race win with this strategy, unless a caution isn't come out late, which we've seen a bunch of crashes within the past few laps with no yellows because they've done a good job of getting off the racing surface.
And I'll just go ahead and say it now. Scott List-Ramler could have been on this strategy. Literally anybody could have been on this strategy. John Poole has literally just driven his race, and that's it. And by virtue of not losing too much time, by virtue of not hitting the wall, at least not. Oh my God, we have a car flipping Timothy Trowbridge.
And
if that's the yellow,
comes out.
There it is. Wow.
Oh my. This changes everything.
What I think is a fair way to call this, but let's go back and watch the replay on the 14 through turn number 2 again. Hits the wall, goes down to the inside, has a repeat of what he did before. And oh my gosh, that's the most massive one-car incident I think I've ever seen.
That is Ryan Briscoe Auto Club 2015, if I remember correctly. Heavy.
Let's go on board with him here, and this is going to be a hell of a ride on board with number 14 of Timothy Trowbridge. And hits the wall there, and it goes out and hits the inside. It does the exact same thing as before.
Yeah, it definitely did the exact same thing as before, but a lot more flips this time.
And don't worry, I won't show you guys the gyro cam of that because that would make you all sick. But that was a massive, massive accident.
But the big thing is, the caution flag is out. This bunches the field back up. I honestly think Poole needs to come down. That way he's not on such older tires since the gap is closed up. If I'm Ramler, I stay out.
He just pitted. Yeah, he's on, let's see here. I had it up. He is on 2 half-old tires. One of those being under caution. Ramler stays out. He needs to keep the lead if he wants to win this race.
Most definitely. And as for Gonzalez, he pitted a couple.
I would say out from Gonzalez.
Yeah, I actually see where you're coming out from right there. I think Poole definitely needs to pit here. That way he'll be on the freshest tires, but he's also going to have that traffic to go through.
And we'll see what he does here as they come down, down out of turn number 3 to pit lane or not to pit lane. Ramler's ducking in. Will he duck back out? No, Ramler's pitting. That throws the race win completely in the air.
We have 6 cars on the lead lap right now. Well, I think it'll be 7 with Matt Chubb. Should be getting his lap back, but these cars all have a shot to win now.
And again, yeah, that just changes everything of the race. That changes the entire complexion of this event. The race out of pit lane, it's Scott List-Ramler, then Eric Gonzalez, then it's John Poole, Will Roberts, and Michael Cozy Jr. But Scott List-Ramler may have just inherited the race win by virtue of the pit cycle. We know he's faster than every other car out here. At least he was 100 laps to go.
Yeah, definitely. Well, let's see how this plays out on the restart. I definitely think this is going to be an extremely crazy one. And as we hear in NASCAR, especially in C-Fixed all the time, cautions breed cautions. Matt Chubb has also been waved around the pace car.
So Matt Chubb will add to our lead lap car total. It's not very many, though. Again, a small field here in the Pocono Mountains. Not many teams made the trip out to Pocono, Pennsylvania for this one, but still been a really good race. Let's quickly look back through some of our sponsors that are helping put this event on. Of course, again, the Pit Limiter podcast. Check them out wherever you watch, listen to your We'll get it. We'll get it one of these times. Wherever you listen to your podcasts, I'd assume you can check out the Pit Limiter podcast. I might even do the same thing myself after this one. Also want to thank JPB Gaming for helping this event happen, helping it come to Pit Stop TV. We approached these guys, the league that is IORL, not even a week ago, and asked them about broadcasting this event, and it all just kind of came together. It just kind of worked for us to make this our comeback event. I couldn't be happier to be back broadcasting. Can't say it'll be on a full-time basis, but to be broadcasting it all, again, I think it is great. And to have somebody new alongside of me, thank you, Nate, for stepping into the booth. I never gave you the proper introduction into the booth, but this is Nate Stewart, one of my teammates, one of my friends on the sim. Again, can't thank you enough for helping this one happen. I could not have done this race alone. I'm already, even with you here, my throat is quite dry, so could not have done this one on my own.
Yeah, definitely. I really appreciate you bringing me out. It means a lot to be able to start commentating. Hopefully I'll be able to do this more, but it feels good to do it in a league that I'm familiar with and such, and it honestly means a lot to me. And I hate to throw this plug in there, but you said I'm one of your teammates on Team Unreal, so I'm taking this opportunity to shout out my own team, Suicide Shift Esports. You can find us on Facebook. We tend to post weekly league updates, NIS updates, and such, and we share it to multiple groups and stuff, so it's honestly kind of hard to miss one of our posts.
Well, you mentioned Suicide Shift Esports. Let's go now to Unreal Esports. You can follow Unreal Esports on social media as well. Shifting then, like the pun, shifting then from Unreal Esports now to Narwhal Bloodbath. This is, again, a home field race for Narwhal Bloodbath. Based out of Erie, Pennsylvania, this is a metal band. Again, not for everybody necessarily, but I think everybody should definitely give them a chance. Check them out. They're, again, a metal band out of Erie, Pennsylvania, just working their way up through the ranks. And got a close friend that is a part of the band, and they always are putting in hard work over there at Narwhal Bloodbath. And it's cool to be associated with them, partnered with them, and see where things go, and hopefully they go to big places. Also want to thank H&M Automotive out of Columbia, Missouri, partner now of Unreal Esports and the Unreal Esports family, which Pit Stop TV is now a part of for quite a while. H&M Automotive, I think, has been partnered with the whole Unreal Esports family since Narwhal Bloodbath has been a part of it, so quite a few months now. And they've both been great partners of ours, and can't be happier to have them alongside of us as we get ready to go back green here shortly from the Pocono Raceway. Pace car lights are out. Scott List-Ramler is your leader. Let's quickly look over some race info. We've had just two cautions in over 100 laps now. First 7 laps. 11 lead changes though. Be it through racing, be it through pit stops, 11 lead changes. Excuse me, that definitely spices things up. Looking over to the weather now. 81 degrees and partly cloudy, wind from the north. Well, no, I think that part of our overlay is broken. The track temp at 119 degrees. It is quite a toasty track out there, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. The track has actually heated up since the beginning of the race, and I think that's why we've seen so many cars been smacking the wall out of turn 2. And here we come, exiting turn 3. Pace car is pulling off now.
And Ramler staying low, the rest of the field going high. We'll see how that treats them as we come down to the restart zone.
Green, green, green.
Scott List-Ramler gets on the loud pedal. They're off and away back underneath the flag stand. Back green racing here at Pocono Raceway. John Poole down to the inside of Zach Buchanan looking for second. Here comes Will Roberts. He's looking for third or more. John Poole right to the gearbox. Goes to the outside of Scott List-Ramler. Side by side in turn number 1. Almost contact. Wheel to wheel. Rambler running that 12 up the racetrack and side by side now down the Long Pond straightaway. Give the advantage to Poole for a second.
I honestly think Poole's going to get the run off. Oh, they almost go 3 wide in the tunnel turn. Poole's going to get the run off the corner, but...
That's only going to work this lap, guys. Wheel to wheel, side by side, side pod to side pod now as they go single file out of turn number 3. 3 wide, actually, for second place. Here comes Will Roberts.
Oh, where has Will Roberts come from? He was in the back all race, and now with that caution, he's up into second. I think he's going to make the dive.
He's looking, but doesn't make the dive yet. Just wanted to get some air to that left front, apparently. Washes up out of 1. Everyone does. Cozy in the wall, down to the inside, hits the wall hard.
Yeah, Cozy's stuck down in the grass right now, spinning out. Oh, he's actually coming back on the track, and it's going to be...
No caution yet. Will Roberts now in pursuit of the 57 down to turn number 3. The fast turn number 3 to close this lap. Will Roberts to the inside looking for daylight. Can't find it just yet. Ramler's still your leader.
And no caution flag for Michael Cozy as he pulled off back down onto the grass. And
new fastest lap goes to Will Roberts, a 42.7. Now down into turn number 1 again. Will Roberts looking for daylight. Can't find it.
Rambler actually seems to be running the high line at turns 1 and 3. I'm not sure what all that is about, but that's actually giving Will Roberts the space to be able to turn. And Will actually isn't making the dives like I expect him to. I think he might be waiting for later on in the race.
Well, he's also giving himself some space there. He took a late entry into 2, kept the downforce on the front nose, and actually it's fallen back into the feelers of John Poole. It looks like Gonzalez has fallen back out of the battle. We'll catch up with that later on. But now John Poole and Will Roberts toe-to-toe, nose to gearbox, and now fastest lap goes to John Poole, a 42.497, 212 miles an hour, as he takes second place back away from Will Roberts.
Like we mentioned earlier, Poole's trying to go down fighting. I think he's going to get up there and try to battle Rambler for the race win. And actually, in this mess, Eric Gonzalez is actually falling back down to 5th place.
So behind Matt Chubb now, Matt Chubb has taken over 4th position as these guys continue to battle up front for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. It's not over. Shade takes over the racetrack, cools this place down just a little bit. And John Poole back in pursuit of that number 57. You see the track temp cooling down just a couple of degrees, now down to 117. We'll see if that goes down any further with more cloud coverage, but Will Roberts still on the gearbox of John Poole III. The Star Trek machine looking a little bit fast, not quite as fast as the Starship Enterprise.
I see you taking my reference from earlier and running with it, like Poole's trying to run down Rambler.
Well, he's trying to beam himself up, Scotty, and he just hasn't done it. He's trying to catch Scotty, actually. Scotty List-Ramler. We're going to keep that. We're gonna talk to him later on, and we're going to refer to him as Scotty List-Ramler. I'm calling it now. Sorry, the bad jokes, they come out this time of the race. We've been going for 2 hours now as John Poole still trying to use the air to catch up. It's down to about a 5-car race with Michael Cozy falling out of this one. And they are all under, well, in IndyCar terms, I'd say it's a blanket. It's quite spread out, though.
Yeah, definitely. The gap from Rambler to Poole at the start-finish line was 3/10. Oh, there's a lap car. Oh, wait, no, there's not. I'm on the wrong camera. Sorry about that. But, yeah, Poole is doing his best to run down Rambler right now.
You can watch these guys whiz by out of turn number 3. Just absolutely flying around this joint, going 210 on exit of the corner. Now down the front straightaway, going down to the inside, then back to the outside as they get ready for turn number 1. And these 3 up front, Will Roberts suddenly in the talk to win this race. They just keep going at it. Well, I shouldn't say going at it just yet, but they are close. If they get side by side again, they will be going at it. But I really think these two should wait until they catch the Figure 7 again to go side by side. I don't think they should go side by side behind them.
Oh, definitely. I think Will Roberts might be in the best seat right now because if Rambler and Poole start to fight, he'll get that double draft and can possibly be able to get a huge slingshot off into one of the turns.
And you see them go down all the way to the inside. That's because Rambler's trying to break the draft, and, well, John Poole and Will Roberts are following. So as they weave down the front straightaway, they try and follow the draft. And it's not helping them just yet, but there you see it again. Rambler goes down to the inside, then back up, trying to break that draft, trying to eliminate whatever advantage they can muster up. And each time Will Roberts gets to the gearbox of the car, he goes wide in turn number 2. I think he should try and lose that gap in 1 and actually try and build the momentum through 2 and into 3 and try and make the pass out of 3. But either way, we'll see what he does. I think he should use the slower corner, well, I guess the higher banked corner of 1, and then try and, bring that all back through 2 and 3. We'll see what he does. But either way, he keeps sitting back like he wants to build up a run. He's picking and choosing his battles very wisely.
I definitely don't disagree with you right now, right there. And Eric Gonzalez has actually gotten past Matt Chubb for 4th place.
Yeah, that battle for 4th actually did heat up a little bit while you were watching the battle for 2nd. Eric Gonzalez has taken that position back, like you said. Matt Chubb falling back, and I think Eric's car is just better. I think he's just better on that longer run. So once we ran a few laps, that 98 really came out to shine, just like it did earlier in the race about 100 laps ago. So that 98 now into 4th. He's in a good spot if anything happens up front, but Scott List-Ramler is still your leader.
Yeah, and we see Roberts get on the gearbox of Poole again and actually goes wide in turn 1. He might be watching the broadcast and listening to your advice. I'm not sure. how he'd be watching the broadcast in the car, but...
Oh, they're going side by side almost down into turn number 2. They are side by side. Will Roberts around the outside. Can he clear him? He does. John Poole falls back to 3rd and is going to lose tons of time that time by because Will Roberts took the draft away. Well, took the air away, I should say.
What an absolute banger of a move right there as Michael Cozy disconnects from the event, and Will Roberts might be looking to run down Scott List-Ramler with 11 laps to go.
And that was a solid move out of the 41 of Will Roberts. Made the pass finally for a position that he was setting up for several laps. And I like to see that out of a driver. Actually setting that pass up instead of doing something a little too hastily and messing up and taking yourself out of contention. That was a really, really well set up pass, well thought out pass by Will Roberts. That's how you know somebody races these things and is actually comfortable in the car. Sets the pass up, does it correctly, on the outside, might I add. That was just really good racecraft out of the 41.
Yeah, it's extremely well racecraft. I haven't known Will that long, but from what I've ran with him, he actually is a really good driver. And he's actually starting to close in a little bit on Ramler. We'll see what he can do in the number 41 Target Toyota.
And he is, well, he started 3rd, currently 2nd, so he's up 1 position overall, but he is just, he's running lap times so similar to his fastest lap of the race. That time was a little bit slower, but the lap before was within 2/10 of his fastest lap of the race, so it shows that he is flying right now. It's just a matter of actually continuing to fly as he gets closer and closer to that 57 and starts to feel aero push.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to see what happens when Will starts getting on Ramler's gearbox and dealing with that dirty air and aero push. He actually made good work of it with Poole. We'll see.
That was a slow turn 3. That was a slow turn 3.
Very. We'll see what the gap is at the line. Last lap was 5/10. This lap is 6/10.
And that was all lost in turn number 3, I'll tell you that much. Just the way he went in and the way Ramler ran the line that I think Will was trying to get to, he just had no front downforce, couldn't make the front tires stick and just washed up. So as these final 6 cars continue to race, I'm not sure it's going to be very easy to beat that 57. I don't know that it can be done. Oh, and he clips the curb, saves it from hitting the fence. That was some good driving there again by Will Roberts, but it was bad driving to get himself into that position. Shouldn't have been in the position on the curbs to begin with.
Yeah, I've had that happen multiple times in IndyCar Fix before, and somehow saved the car most of the times, but with that, he loses 4/10 and is now a 2nd back off Scott List-Ramler, and Poole is actually now over a 1.5 back.
And that, I think, was Will Roberts' chances at the win that just flew out the window, or rather out of the cockpit, which isn't at all closed. I don't know that he can get back up to Scott List-Ramler and pass him within 7.5 laps now, 7.25 pretty much. He just lost too much time that time in turn number 2, and it is really hard to gauge and actually hit your line properly in that corner, but you have to at this point in the race. You cannot make that mistake, and unfortunately he did, but I'll give him credit where credit is due. That was really great driving not to hit the fence. We were on board with him for that, and he did a really good job of sawing the wheel just a little bit, playing with the throttle, playing with the inputs, and making sure that he didn't hit that fence, because that would have been even worse, and of course we would have made fun of him afterwards, but no, that was just really, really good driving to save that car from it being even worse.
Extremely good driving, and another good example of driving from him, he gained it 2/10 on the lap after that incident. So closing back in on Ramler, we'll see if he can do something within the last 6 laps.
He has brought the gap back down, but I don't know that he's brought it down far enough. It was about 6.5 when he made that mistake in turn number 2. It's now down to about 7. So he is closing back in, but I think that's just virtue of the draft, and I don't know that he actually has the best shot to really work through said draft, and again, aero push, to actually close in on that 57. I just don't know that the ability is there, both in the tires, even in the driver, with just how good Scott List-Ramler has been all night long. He has this thing figured out.
He really does, but Will, I can see just from the camera view, he is closing in. Will's actually running up in that asphalt patch in turn 3, and that might be helping him with the grip and such. And we'll see what the gap is at the line.
A half second.
5/10.
A half second, and John Poole is falling back. His championship chances flying out the window. They're already back in California somewhere. They left Pennsylvania a long time ago, so now Scott List-Ramler employing that strategy of going back down the track, breaking that draft. He sees that Will Roberts is closing in. I'll eat my words. Roberts has done a great job of reeling him back in, but can he keep doing so? I will say Will Roberts is very, very familiar with these Indy cars. I just don't know that it's going to be enough.
We will definitely see as we come to take the 4 to go.
He's pedaling it. That was a sloppy turn 3 from both of these guys.
Definitely, and the gap at the line is...
Says the same.
Yeah, just the same. Well, I think Roberts might have stalled out, but we're just going to see how this goes.
Like I said, they both had a sloppy turn 3. You were talking about that asphalt patch. That's the best line to run here in stock cars on the old version of Pocono. The new repaved version of Pocono, that's a little bit different, but at least on this old version, you ran that asphalt patch. And oh, he hits the curbs again! Does he hit the wall? Oh, he tapped it. He tapped the fence. And I think that seals the deal just about. We'll see if that did any damage to his car. Try and go to another camera. I don't see any wing damage. It's tough to tell if there's any side pod damage or not.
His side pod is bent up just a tiny, tiny bit, but I think that's going to be enough to seal in second place. He lost 6/10.
Yeah, the time is the biggest issue there over the damage. I think he does have some damage to the floor, but I don't know if that would be enough to hurt him enough to take him out of contention. It's the time that he lost there. And but yeah, no, he was running that asphalt patch, and then once Scott List-Ramler noticed that was his advantage in turn 3, well, guess what? Scott List-Ramler went back to running it and took that advantage away. So Will Roberts now back out of contention, I think, to win this race, and I think that one closes the deal. Just, again, misjudged turn number 2, did the same thing twice, and again, I'll give him credit, it's a tough thing to do. It's even tougher to keep that car out of the fence like he did. Well, I should say from being entirely worse. He could have hit that wall with a lot more force.
Yeah, definitely. He could have done like Timothy Trowbridge earlier and ended up flipping down the track, exactly. But he was lucky to just barely kiss the wall and hang on to it, but unfortunately I think that's Robert's chance at winning over with.
Well, with a lap and a half left, there we go. We'll figure that one out. Scott List-Ramler leading the field down to the turn number 3 for the penultimate time as the 57 lengthens his gap just a little bit over the number 41. That 41 actually might be trying to claw back, but it's just too little too late. Scott List-Ramler has run a near perfect, I won't say perfect, but a near perfect race. He had fallen out of contention, a caution brought him back into it, and this restart for sure has been perfect. Everything since has just been a great example as to why Scott List-Ramler is a deserving champion. You see, he's led the most laps. He has led over half of this event. Gonna be 76 this time by when they cross the stripe. Down into turn number 3 for the final time, and for the championship, it's gonna be Scott List-Ramler winning here tonight at Pocono. Just got to do less than a football field down underneath the flag stand, and finally the 57 can call it a day. 76 laps led, started first, finished first. It's Scott List-Ramler winning the championship in the International Online Racing League Area 52 Designs Championship. And that's a mouthful.
It really is, and coming across the line, I overheard on the radio Ramler saying that he might as well bring home 2 cups tonight, so getting a little bit happy for winning the race and the championship tonight. Really unfortunate for Will Roberts. He actually hit the curb in turn 2 again on the last lap and lost even more time. But the biggest loser tonight in all facts is John Poole. Just really unfortunate. He looked like he had the win locked up and then unfortunately lost out on that caution as we watch Ramler do donuts in celebration of his championship and win.
And you see the unofficial results on the right side of your screen. All 13 drivers that came out to Pocono tonight. Scott List-Ramler tops them all just like he does in the season standings. Takes home the win, takes home the championship. You can't see dual burnouts tonight because it's just Scott List-Ramler. He might do the job of 2 different cars tonight. He just keeps burning them down. You see Will Roberts there on the front straightaway waiting patiently for his interview at some point. But Scott List-Ramler, Will Roberts, John Poole, your top three. Eric Gonzalez, fourth. Andrew McMurray, fifth, Nate.
Yep, and Matt Chubb comes home in sixth. Michael Cozy Jr., 19 laps down in seventh. Timothy Trowbridge, 28 laps down at P8. Zach Buchanan, 31 laps down at ninth. Spencer Preet, 57 laps down at 10th. And I'll just finish this out right here. Corey Rexford, 60 laps down at 11th. Rockwell Seacrest, 68 laps down in 12th. And Ray Dolly, 71 laps down in 13th. All drivers made it past halfway tonight.
I think Ray Dolly was just a couple laps short, actually, but I think Seacrest was actually at that line. But still, impressive that even with the early troubles these guys had, they raced on for that long. I will give them that much. And as we take the results back off your screen, we're going to take one quick break, and we'll be back, and we'll talk to the whole top three, and then some, as we wrap up the season here from Pocono. You see them cross the line, and that's a great shot from the PA booth here at Pocono. And you continue to see Ramler burn them down. We'll be right back here from Pit Stop TV.
Simulated racing can be awesome, but it can also be kind of a free-for-all. Interestingly, auto racing faced the same problem in its earlier days. Whether it was on the back roads, the beaches, or the city streets, the racing was fun. But there was always a certain level of chaos and danger, until some folks came along and put some order to all of this. Stuff like official racetracks, regulations about weight and equipment, and enforcement of standards. That's what gave us high-speed excitement, fast-paced action, and photo finishes. That's when racing became racing. The guys over at iRacing.com have made the same transformation in the world of sim racing. Sure, they've got the most accurate tracks and realistic cars out there, but that's just the start. See, iRacing analyzes the performance and results of each driver in every race, so you can be sure you're always placed in races where the competition will be tight, and that those reckless drivers who ruin it for us all are kept in the pits. Not to mention that with over 45,000 active members already in their vast community, you can find races day and night, so you can always get in on the action. You can even join a league of your favorite series. And since updates are always automatic, you don't have to worry about software and can focus on the track. Zip up your fire suit and check out iRacing.com.
And welcome back to Pocono Raceway here tonight. You saw it all get wrapped up. Scott List-Ramler winning the championship, but we're going to talk to Heartbreak Central first. It's going to be John Poole III. We'll go ahead and get him ready here. And John, well, we were watching the points all night long. We were doing math. We were doing math on screen even, trying to show everybody exactly what was going down, trying to illustrate exactly what the points battle was doing, and it just was not your night tonight. You came in 15 points back. You ran a really solid race. I think you had the win locked up there if it went in green to the end, but unfortunately, it just was not enough.
Yeah. For the early onset, I knew it was going to be basically trying to get into fuel windows all night, at least how the race was set up. So I was just trying to let it run dry every time. Then we had that unfortunate caution. I kind of knew going in that it was going to be a uphill battle for the championship. I kind of wish it was closer going in, but you can't time graphics card failure right before a race. So that's what put me in that position. But Scott had 2 less starts than I did, so I have only myself to blame for the season. I could have done better. He did a hell of a job. He executed every single week. He made us look like little kids on a NASCAR heat. So he did a hell of a job, like I said, and he ultimately deserved that one.
Well, fair enough. Definitely a mature way to concede defeat there. But you did put on a hell of a show. Let's focus on tonight, I think. As far as the race win, you, I think, had that locked up, had things gone green, but then that caution down the back straightaway. Explain what your hopes were on that restart. We saw you go toe-to-toe with Will for a little bit there, and even Scott, and it just didn't work out. What do you think you could have done differently?
Honestly and truthfully, I'm not sure if I could have done any more there. I would just had blood in my eyes going into that restart. I was fuming, absolutely fuming to know that you had a race locked up like that, and then caution comes out for whatever it was. I believe it's the 14, but it doesn't matter. I just had blood in my eyes. I knew Scott was going to be difficult to pass. He's very good at manipulating the air and such. So probably the only thing I could have done differently was I overdrove the entry of 3 there on that restart, and that basically sealed it, I would say. I mean, I got close to him again, but I just could not. There was almost a bubble of air once there's a few laps on the tires, and yeah, you really just needed clean air tonight. That was key for success tonight for sure.
Well, fair enough. Either way, you had a great run going. Unfortunately, it just didn't quite work out. But who do you have to thank for the season, the race you put on? I mean, it definitely was not for a lack of effort tonight at Pocono.
Well, I'm not trying to boost my ego or anything, but got to thank myself and Zach for putting this on for everybody. That was the big thing. We came into this season trying to do something different, trying to give a little more focus to everything that we do, trying to make it better for all the drivers. It did pay off. We did see a lot better racing, a lot more competitive racing, even though Scott, like I said, was pretty tough to beat all season. He wasn't invincible per se. Also would like to thank Cosman Aneshu from Splash and Go Graphics. He actually painted my paint scheme up tonight, and he always does a hell of a job with his paint scheme. So I just wanted to thank him for that. And yeah, I think that's about it. I'd like to thank all the drivers for showing up this season. It was definitely a better season. There were some ups and downs, but we got through them, and now we're on to whatever's next.
All right, John, it was a thrill to cover this race and cover that battle for you, to try and come over that mountain. It was honestly such a tall order at the beginning. I think if it wasn't such a deficit, there was obviously a much larger chance, but I really think it was realistic. You had a good run out there tonight, and definitely, I think, showed that you were deserving of second place, if not the championship yourself. But hey, there's always next season, and you've been at this for what 11 seasons so far, so
Yeah, or
it's
10 seasons actually, but yeah, it's been, yeah.
yeah. Sorry, I was thinking at the end of next season. So yeah,
Yeah.
it will be 11 seasons when you go back at it. But yeah, you've been at it for 10 seasons. I mean, that in and of itself to hit the 10 season mark for a league and being a big organizational player. We'll get the words out eventually. I've been starting with that all night, but to be a big organizational player in all of it, it's got to feel satisfying to get through 10 seasons and you're still at the top. Obviously, you told me over Facebook, getting this all worked out, that you're one of the winningest drivers of the series, and just as a stat, but that sure, you're one of the longest tenured around here, but also to keep that stat when there's others that have been around for plenty of time, to keep that just to stay one of the winningest drivers, I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely an honor to be one of the winningest drivers, for sure. That's why I'm so irritated at myself, because I'm a winner at heart, and such like that. So it's really tough to see one go that was locked up there. But I should have known that it's never really truly locked up to that checkered flag. But yeah. Also, I forgot to mention this during my thank you, but I'd like to thank Will Roberts. He helped build this, or helped us with the setup for tonight's race. Without him, it probably wouldn't have looked as good as what it did. But yeah, he created a really racy setup that it wore the tires down. You actually had tire management. It wasn't a guarantee that you can just go flat out the entire run.
Yeah, no, that was definitely evident, and you definitely seemed, you and Eric Gonzalez both, I will say, definitely seemed to have that, and thanks to the pit stop strategy as well, just being off sequence, but you definitely seemed to be gaining back on Scott over the course of a long run, and it was definitely evident that the tires were a factor, so I do think that's something to mention when we talk to him in a few, but John, thanks for sitting down with us. That was a really long interview, honestly, but it was good to talk to you, get that all out there, and yeah, just kind of have a second to talk about all of this, because it was a really crazy race. 500 kilometers is a long time, I'll have you know. So, yeah, just thanks again for getting us on board for this and putting everything on, and yeah, I mean, congrats on the second place in the championship, third place in the race. You put on a show, though.
Well, I want to thank you guys though for coming on. I know it was a last minute deal, and we were kind of scrambling trying to get this on. I know this was your return race. I just like to thank you all for what you did. That was it was awesome. Thank you again.
Heck yeah, when I saw that there weren't regular broadcasts, I talked to a couple of people and I was like, you know what? I ran with you guys at Texas. I didn't do so hot. I don't race Indy cars normally. I made that known over the course of the race, but I could certainly sit here and talk about them for a couple of hours, and it was a lot of fun. So again, appreciate you having us. You put on a heck of a show. It was really fun to watch and cover.
Alrighty, thank you guys for covering again, and yeah.
All right, and ladies and gentlemen, that was John Poole. Takes home second place in the championship. And finally, after a few minutes there, Nate, we'll go back down to you. It is to my understanding that you have Will Roberts.
Yeah, actually dragging Will Roberts down right now. So, Will Roberts, you had a pretty good race overall, but early on we saw you marred back in the pack, even going a lap down at one time, and then you got that timely caution during the pit sequence late in the race and such, and actually ended up back on the lead lap and up towards the front. Just tell us about your race, man.
It was a race full of mistakes on my part. Felt like I had a car to win from the start. I was just trying to ride around, bide my time for the first 50 laps or so. And under the first caution, got a 15-second hold for speeding in the pits, which really put a damper on everything from there. And got lucky with the caution, got back up into the mix, and I was just trying to ride around there for a little while, playing my moves, and just mistake after mistake, just little things that kept adding up, and was able to bring it home second. That's still a good result, but obviously wanted the win.
Yeah, that's completely understandable. Late in the race, after the restart, we saw you battling with John Poole, and even got around him on the outside, and then started running down Scott List-Ramler. What was going through your mind as you were starting to run down Ramler? And I hate to mention this, you hit the curb multiple times in turn two. What was going through your mind throughout that entire run?
Yeah, I was struggling all race with the arrow push in turn two, and I was just trying to avoid it where possible, and just trying to cut the corner a little too sharp or a little too close, and it bit me a couple times. Yeah, so what was going through my mind there was just trying not to make mistakes, and I failed at that.
Well, you're human. Humans make mistakes, and unfortunately, that was evident tonight. But you still came home P2, which is a great result here at Pocono tonight. It was mentioned that you built a setup for tonight's race, so we want to thank you for that, for building the setup to put on the show for tonight and such. And do you have anybody, like any sponsors or such, that you want to thank for after tonight's race?
Well, I want to give credit to John. John got things rolling. I just kind of came in and offered a few little tweaks. So it was mostly his work, so I don't want to take the credit there, but I just want to thank everybody for coming, tuning out. I want to thank John and Zach for what they've been putting on here recently, and yeah, I hope everyone enjoyed the show.
All right, well, that's going to conclude our interview with Will Roberts, our second place finisher tonight. Great run by Will, especially coming back from a lap down and stuff. And now we move on to Scott List-Ramler.
And Scott List-Ramler, going to be our champion here tonight, obviously was our race winner as well. And as we get ready to talk to the driver in the 57, Scott, man, that was a heck of a show. You had it all just wrapped up, I think, from the start, and then you touched the wall, kind of ended your first little stint there after that first caution a bit early, and just differing pit strategies from there on through the race. It was certainly a strategy-filled show, but walk us through that event for you to wrap up this championship.
It seems like it's gone the same way as quite a few of the other races I had. I do something stupid in the very beginning, end up using my quick repair very early on in the race, and have to be in tiptoe around everybody through the second half, and it completely threw off our strategy for trying to get through the pits and figure out what the tires were doing, everything there. If it wasn't for that last caution there, John definitely would have won this race, because there was no way I was going to be able to make up a 15-second gap on him, and he was going to be able to get there on one less pit stop essentially than what I did. So that was very fortunate on our end, but really hate to see it for him, especially with his hard as he's been running this entire championship. I can't say I would have been ecstatic to see him win, because I mean, me being competitive as I am, I always want to get up there and get the win, but it would have been good to see him up there, especially after him having issues at Watkins Glen with his computer not being able to race.
Well, yeah, no, it was definitely. I kind of kept tabs on what was going on for John throughout the week, and it was good to see him get it all sorted out and come back and get things going. It was a good championship battle, I think. And you mentioned it was John's race until that caution. What was going through your mind when that caution came out? Because obviously, we have a car flipping down the back straightaway, and suddenly you're back in it, and then you come out the pits the leader.
Well, as soon as I saw the car flipping, I knew we were going to get a caution. The only thing I could think of was I have to get into my pit box nice and smooth, get out, make sure that I get a nice launch coming out, and just see if I can beat John off of pit road and not give him that sort of advantage of being able to pick when we go on the restart and having him choose the line everybody's going to
be running in. But as soon as I was able to beat him off of pit road, I realized, okay, I know how John runs. We practiced together. We've run a couple of endurance series races together, and you just get to learn how somebody is going to try and drive, what moves they're going to try and go through. And I felt like I had a pretty good shot when we came off of pit road in front of him, and it was nice to be able to get that sort of a redo there after having my strategy completely screwed in the beginning by a mistake.
Well, yeah, as was apparent, obviously, that definitely helped you a ton. You come home with the race win, and obviously, I think after a couple of those cars dropped out early with the low car count tonight, you wrapped the championship up pretty early, especially with that pole. Congrats on the pole. Congrats on leading the most laps over half the event. It all just kind of worked perfectly, and to my understanding, that's been the season. No, it was really a good drive tonight. I think even if you guys came in here, locked up at 0 for the points battle, it would have been a Scott List-Ramler kind of night, regardless. Obviously, it was, and again, just a heck of a run there. I guess as you look forward to next season now, you get to look forward and look at season number 11 for the series. I think it'll be season number 3, correct me if I'm wrong, for you. Do you think you can repeat?
I feel like I very well could repeat. As we've been going on, we've been picking up a lot more people that are a lot more competitive. I know we had Zach, for the life of me, I can't remember his last name now, but he ended up winning the championship last time around. He was an incredible driver. Just absolutely nothing I could have done with him to contend for that championship. I'm hoping he comes back, because the more competition that we're able to get into these lobbies, I feel like the better show we're going to be able to put on. But who knows? Maybe we could.
Well, either way, it was definitely a heck of a show, and obviously a heck of a show all season. I wish we could have been there to catch all of that, but hey, we're back now, and maybe something works out in the future to continue on Wednesday nights. We'll see. It was definitely a lot of fun and a pleasure to be able to cover this championship run for you. Who do you have to thank? Because obviously this doesn't just happen on your own.
Absolutely. Definitely got to thank Zach and John for putting everything on. Those guys have put so much time into trying to make sure that IORL runs smoothly, that we're able to get the car counts that we have. It's definitely not easy, because I've had the pleasure of working with John and on a couple of different occasions, getting setups done and trying to get schedules figured out. It is definitely not easy to be in their position as series leaders, and I greatly appreciate what they do. Definitely want to thank my Downforce Motorsports teammate Andrew for coming in and spotting for me for the first third of the race. Really think I could have used him there on that final stint, because he actually left right before I saw the car flipping down the backstretch. And thank you guys at Pit Stop TV for broadcasting for us.
It was definitely a pleasure to make this our broadcast. Make this our comeback event, rather, our comeback broadcast. And we've been tongue-tied all night long. It's a matter of getting back into it, but no, it's definitely been fun to get back into it, especially with this race. Was just thinking to myself, a solid setup, a solid track, solid weather for this race, and just solid racecraft out of everybody. You saw those couple of mistakes that kept things interesting. We had that long run strategy throughout almost the entire race, and then a caution at the start, caution at the end, kept things interesting. And that last restart really was exciting to watch you fend those guys off. We thought we've had a couple of times Will was going to come back and get you, but it just didn't quite work out. But again, just congratulations on that championship. And actually, do you have any message for the other drivers of the series as you wrap up season 10 and look forward to next season?
For everybody that I've raced with this season, thank you guys for coming out, and thank you for making it as interesting as you did. Cozy, John, Zach, all those guys, we were right up there together and having a ton of fun. For anyone that's looking to get into this series, by all means, come in, take a look at us, and join in on a couple practices. I'm sure we're going to be putting some stuff up here in the off season, and really hope to try and get more people in. And don't be afraid. We're not just here to crap on everybody essentially and say, oh, we're fast, do this, that, and the other. We're willing to help people. We don't just leave everybody out in the dry if they're having issues. We're willing to help everyone that comes in, help them get faster and be better drivers. We want to see everyone compete.
All right. Well, I think that was a pretty good message from a reigning champion now. And man, if we're back at all next season, we'll talk to you more then, I'm sure. But thanks for your time there, Scott, and we'll talk to you later.
All right. Thank you, guys.
And again, that was your champion, Scott List-Ramler. Comes home with the race win, comes home with the championship in dominating fashion. And Nate, it is to my knowledge that again you're alongside of a driver. This time I hear it's Eric Gonzalez.
Yes, actually dragging him down right now. All right, Eric Gonzalez. Do you got a copy?
Yes, hello.
All right, so early on in the race, we saw you fighting up front with John and Scott and playing a different pit strategy against Ramler, getting off sequence with him, and then later on when it came down to the second pit stop, you pitted at the same time as Ramler. Can you just talk us through what was going through your head during those strategy calls?
Well, you see, my what I was seeing Ramler being able to pull away because he had fresher tires than we did, and so I was thinking that I was going to be able to pit when Ramler did, and since I wasn't too far behind with John, that I could because he passed me at that point, that I was going to be able to pull around him and then gain some time on him for the next stop. Turns out that put me down on fuel, and I had to stop again, which I didn't realize at the time of making the call. So what I thought was going to be a good strat ended up not being. But overall, I'm not too upset with where he finished P4. I mean, it's not the best, but with just showing up tonight, deciding that I was going to run, and I think that was a pretty decent finish.
Yeah, definitely. Especially after the run you've had tonight, you led multiple laps, and we're battling with people all night long. In my opinion, if you would have stayed on strategy with John, and that last caution not have come out, I think it would have been a battle between you and Poole for the win, which definitely would have been amazing to see. But the 14 of Timothy Trowbridge ended up flipping down the back straightaway and the caution came out. What was going through your mind when that yellow came out and then on that last little short run?
Well, at that point, I was quite happy because I was a bit back, so I was glad that caution came out and it allowed us to get back together. And then I think it was John, was it, that overshot his box, and then I was able to come out P2. But that restart was not my friend. I tried to make moves, it didn't really work. I got a bunch of push, and then it just sent me back the pack.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. A huge thing tonight that these drivers dealt with was aero push. Do you have anybody to thank for your run at P4?
I'll thank the guys back at the shop, No, I want to thank you guys. I was going back and watching the broadcast while I was waiting around for you, and you guys did a really good job. So thank you guys for coming out and broadcasting it.
Yeah, of course. This is actually my first broadcast. This wasn't Andrew's first rodeo, unfortunately, but, well, fortunately, my apologies.
Drama going down.
But it was good to have Andrew by my side, and I want to thank you for putting on a good show tonight, and the rest of the drivers putting on a good show.
Oh, thank you. I certainly tried, and then looked like I ran out of strategy ability. But hey, what you gonna do? That happens sometimes.
Yeah, it's racing. It happens, man. All right, that was Eric Gonzalez, P4 tonight at Pocono.
We go down to talk to one more driver. We saw him doing pirouettes out of turn number 2. We saw him hitting the wall. We saw him hitting the guardrail. We saw him probably hitting the pace car at some point tonight. Tim Trowbridge, how you doing?
Doing pretty well, and you guys? How are you?
Well, we're doing pretty good, but I'd imagine that the safety crew that had to come out and check on your head there after those flips down the back straightaway, maybe not doing quite as hot. That was one heck of a race. One heck of a wreck, rather. It wasn't one heck of a race, but one heck of a wreck on a turn number 2. It was like you do it twice. What happened there?
Well, the first time I was on some pretty old tires. I was gonna try and play some strategy, fucking possibly hitting with John right there on that first one, and then the second one just kind of did a rookie mistake, a little bobble going through 2, and just lost it into the wall.
Yeah, I mean, you tried to pull almost a Elliott Sadler, it seemed like, down the out of turn 2 the first time. Then you hit the wall at the same place. Suddenly we're doing flips and brought that final caution out. Obviously not that you meant to, but let's focus back on your race and leading up to that, I suppose, because you had a pretty good race going on there for a while. We were talking about you in the battle, possibly to go up there and win. If anyone was going to go beat Scott List-Ramler, it was going to be tough, though. And you just eventually, the way things panned out, it seemed like you were a little bit slower on the long run. What happened there from your seat?
Yeah, pretty early on, I was paying attention to Rambler's strategy. I saw he pitted pretty early, and given my experience in the actual IndyCar series, I figured I had pace possibly to try and keep up with him. So I was going to try and just see what strategy he had and try and hang on. Unfortunately, a couple of wrecks didn't really help me there.
Yeah, well, definitely after the first one, obviously you were on a tight leash there with yourself. Couldn't waste that, second car that you had. You only have the one fast fix, and man, when that second one happened, we were watching it back on the broadcast just now. That second one happened. We were definitely kind of freaking out there. But quickly, because we have been at this for a little bit with the post-race show. Obviously, it was good to talk to you. Have to cut it short a little bit. Who do you have to thank for this run in the 14 tonight? I mean, it was a good run there for a while, and it just kind of fizzled out. Who do you have to thank?
Well, first off, obviously, want to thank the fans for being out here. I want to thank you guys for bringing us to the public, obviously, and obviously John and Zach and all the guys over at the IORL League putting all this together. Just glad we could be out here.
Well, we were glad to be showing this race off to anyone who decided they want to watch. And man, I will say, regardless of what we monkeys were doing up here, I think that was a really good race that you guys, the drivers, put on. So you, yourself, whatever drivers were in that race, you guys come back and watch later. You guys all did a great job. That includes you, Tim. We love the pirouettes. Hope to see them again soon. That's going on the social media channel. I hope you know. But no, that was a really good race from you. Hopefully, if we come back and cover any more, maybe you go up there and win. I will say. Also, kudos when I was doing the points sheet for you guys. Your last name definitely stepped me up just a little bit. It almost went out of our little bounds there. So I like the name too. But no, again, just good run up until those couple of times, and hopefully we're talking to you again soon.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, and hopefully see you guys around again.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Tim Trowbridge, our ballerina here in the IORL. And hopefully we're talking to him again soon, because hopefully he doesn't do any more pirouettes. But I know I kept throwing that at him, but I love the word pirouette so much. But Nate, that was a heck of a show we put on. Well, we covered tonight. We didn't put it on. What am I talking about? But those drivers really were on their edge all night long. And I think it was a fitting way to end. Scott List-Ramler winning, even though it did kind of hurt the points battle, I suppose. But I don't know. I think it was still in pretty dramatic fashion.
Yeah, for sure. once again, huge kudos to Scott List-Ramler for winning the championship tonight. Big credit to John Poole for coming in second. And as you said, drivers were on edge all night tonight. We even saw some going over the edge, hitting the wall, flipping over, but only 2 cautions tonight. That was honestly a really good race, and it went green most of the way, which is not shocking by any means with these guys because they're a really good group to run with. I definitely recommend running with them. But, you know, we had that 1 caution on lap 1, then it just went green and green and green, and then we had that late race caution that changed absolutely everything. It was a great race overall, and I'm glad I was able to cover it with you.
And I want to apologize. I think I just had my mic volume down for that entire interview. So I apologize if it was hard to listen at all. That's entirely my bad, just not fixing a slider. Like I said, this is our comeback broadcast, and we're happy to come back on this broadcast, but as you'll notice, some things, they aren't quite as fresh in my mind to go back and slide the slider back up. So that's entirely my bad. However, hopefully you could still pick out what you needed to of that interview with Tim. And to build on what you were saying there, Nate, it really was a really good show. And so happy to have been able to cover it. So thankful to the guys at the International Online Racing League to be able to cover it and to bring you on as well and start your foray into broadcasting. It was a lot of fun. And restart mine back on the sim. I've been doing some stuff at the real tracks, but to come back on the sim and get back at it was a lot of fun. Want to quickly thank those that we've got to thank one more time. Going to start off again with the Pit Limiter podcast. Check them out wherever you watch your podcasts. We didn't get too much info. Again, like John was saying, it was a little bit hastily put together, so apologize for that. But if we come back and get to show the Pit Limiter podcast logo off at all again, we'll have more info on that for you. But I'd imagine they're pretty easy to track down. I would guess check out social media. Shouldn't be too hard to find the Pit Limiter podcast. Check them out. I'll be doing the same after the race. And, well, it's after the race, I suppose. But also got to thank JPB Gaming for supporting the cause here. Also want to go ahead and give a shout out to, of course, Narwhal Bloodbath from Erie, Pennsylvania. So it was a home show for them. That is a metal band, again, based in Erie, Pennsylvania. Maybe not for everybody, but everybody should at least give them a shout. Check them out. See if you like what they've got going on. Even if you don't now, you might like it down the road. I think definitely a talented bunch of individuals, and definitely, again, a metal band out of Erie, Pennsylvania. Check them out on social media, Facebook and YouTube, and yeah, again, that is Narwhal Bloodbath. You can see on the bottom left of your screen. Also want to thank H&M Automotive out of Columbia, Missouri, a partner of the Unreal Esports family for a while now, just like Narwhal Bloodbath. And of course, then that leads into Unreal Esports, Team Unreal, and the whole Unreal Esports family. We thank you for tuning in tonight as well from Pit Stop TV. This has been Andrew Cardinale and Nate Stewart. We'll go ahead and show you the results and point standings coming in tonight one more time. Of course, the championship, though, going to Scott List-Ramler by virtue of the win. We'll go ahead and let you look over those one more time, though, as we go ahead and step away from the mics, break everything down here at the virtual Pocono Raceway, and get ready for the next one. This has been Pit Stop TV, and we'll see you in the next one.